Chapter 148 Exploding Lifespan Within a Month. Thanks to the ephemera, Guwen reaped 1.7 million years of lifespan. Most of this was harvested in the first half of the month. As time went on, it became increasingly difficult to seize lifespans. More ephemera withered directly after he picked them, which intrigued him. It was as if some force was drawing away the vitality of these ephemera prematurely. Although he did not know the reason, Guwen felt satisfied. Thanks to the ephemera sect, he saved 20 years of effort, extending his life to 4.39 million years. After the fall of the ephemera sect, the lands of the 9 dynasties erupted in celebration. Various versions of the story spread among the people. The ephemera sect became known as the most terrifying sect in the world, while the mountain god became a revered faith among the folk. On this day, in a forest in the North Sea mountain range, sage Xianxia knelt on the ground, his expression devout. Suddenly, he heard a voice and showed a look of joy, then walked in another direction. After 2 hours, sage Xianxia stopped. He stood on a hillside, gazing out at the sparkling North Sea. "Build a temple for me here, and open up a medicine field to plant herbs for me," Guwen's voice sounded in sage Xianxia's ear. Sage Xianxia immediately agreed. He was very excited about the life of serving to come. Just like that, a day and a night passed. At dawn, Guwen appeared as a little figure dressed in white on sage Xianxia's shoulder. Sage Xianxia was meditating on the steps in front of the temple, eyes closed in cultivation. Guwen surveyed the temple that sage Xianxia had built. It was decent, not magnificent but not shabby either. The courtyard walls were made of stone, as was the temple, with redwood beams and pillars, and red tiles lining the eaves. Nestled in the forest halfway up the mountain, it appeared faintly visible. A great cauldron in the courtyard burned incense, with wisps of smoke curling upwards, giving it the feel of an immortal's abode. Overall, sage Xianxia had put in a lot of effort, successfully pleasing him. Guwen said, "The inscription on the plaque is not good. Mountain God Temple is too generic. There may be other mountain gods besides me in this world." Sage Xianxia's eyes snapped open, and he instinctively turned to look, seeing the mountain god standing on his shoulder. His body instantly stiffened, not daring to move. He cautiously asked, "May I ask for your deity's name? I haven't decided yet." Guwen jumped off sage Xianxia's shoulder and walked into the courtyard. Sage Xianxia quickly stood up to follow, curiously asking, "What do you mean by not decided? Don't you have a divine group behind you, like the heavenly court in Investiture of the Gods?" Investiture of the Gods, what is that? Sage Xianxia briefly explained the investiture of the gods, speaking of it with reverence. After listening, Guwen snorted disdainfully, "Mere mortals dare to speculate about deities? I do not know if there is a heavenly court in the world, but I have never seen other deities since my birth." "Then how are you? You want to ask why I dare to call myself a mountain god? Dare not, dare not. I don't mean that. Deities are not just about status, it is also a certain realm. Cultivate well and perhaps one day you, too, can achieve it." Guwen's words made sage Xianxia's heart burn with excitement. He also wanted to be as powerful as the mountain god. Seeing that the mountain god was in a good mood, he began to inquire about the medicine field. "Plant whatever you wish, and I will come to harvest and send these herbs to rebirth," Guwen answered casually, making sage Xianxia revere him all the more. He had never heard that plants also needed to be reborn. The mountain god's broad-mindedness was indeed beyond his imagination. After instructing sage Xianxia on a few things, Guwen disappeared into thin air. He said he was going to sleep in the ground and to not disturb him unless necessary. Sleeping in the ground? Sage Xianxia gained a new understanding. 2 months after the fall of the ephemera sect, great cultivators of the supreme sect returned with their disciples one after another. Their return also brought back many inside stories, once again spreading the legend of the mountain god in the supreme sect. Lu Lingjun also returned. She was listed in the Hall of Elders by LV Baitin, her status soaring. LV Baitin originally wanted to transfer her out of the Third Medicine Valley, but this time she refused. "From now on, I will cultivate in the Third Medicine Valley, continuing to protect you." However, don't expect me to be at your beck and call. If you can offer some herbs during normal times, I can do some things for you, Lu Lingjun said leisurely, sitting opposite Guan in the pavilion. Such an attitude. Really pretending. Guan laughed, saying, "It's not impossible to give you herbs. Actually, you can buy seeds, and it'll help you plant them. The yield will be all yours. It's a simple matter for me. With you guarding the third medicine valley, I can be at ease." Lu Lingjun, hearing this, thought it was reasonable and said, "Indeed. In a couple of days it'll go to the main city of the sect. The seeds and ranks there are higher." Then she began to recount the fierce battle in the Wanji forest she experienced firsthand. She held great respect for the mountain god. As an ascender, deities had greater significance in her heart. Listening to her reverence for the mountain god, Guan secretly felt pleased. Guan didn't let his emotions show, occasionally expressing amazement. Once she finished speaking, Guan lamented, "The realm of the mountain god is truly unimaginable. I wonder if mortals can reach such a realm in their lifetime." Lu Lingjun seriously said, "Perhaps it is very difficult, but since we have embarked on the path of immortal cultivation, we must strive for this goal, even if we die without regret." Guan noticed that her lifespan had reached its limit, which is 3,700 years. She still had nearly 1,700 years left. He wondered if she could defy the heavens and reach the nirvana realm in the remaining years. For now, he had no intention of teaching her the primordial reincarnation skill. His relationship with Lu Lingjun hadn't reached that level yet. He would observe her next actions first. If she pleased him, he might give her a hand. If she treated him poorly, she could forget about it. An hour later, Lu Lingjun stood up to leave. Before departing, she reminded him, "Don't pay attention to those worthless books. If you have time, write another investiture of the gods. I want to see what happened to those people after they became deities." "Worthless books? You don't understand at all." Guan glared at Lu Lingjun's back. After she closed the door, he took out the Supreme Secret Records. This was the last volume of the Supreme Secret Records. After reading it, he planned to burn it. He opened the first page and began to savor it. Shenzhen's writing style had changed. The final volume had a melancholic tone, unlike the previous boldness. "Nice, I like it." As a melancholic person himself, Guan decided not to burn the Supreme Secret Records. Watching the male protagonist and his soulmate expressing their feelings during a farewell, releasing years of emotional conflict, next came the illustrations Guan usually despised. He decided to take a careful look to see if Shenzhen's drawing skills had any flaws. As the new year arrived, Guan participated in the spring festival celebrations in the Third Medicine Valley and the Mystic Valley. Late at night, he arrived at Nianchu Cave in the Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. He brought fine wine and delicacies to Tianyao, intending to celebrate the festival together. Apart from tending to the herbs, Tianyao spent her time cultivating. Life was quite dull, so every time Guan visited, he would bring her various delicacies. This was Tianyao's first time drinking wine. She held the jar and was choked by the first sip. This was spiritual wine. Even core formation cultivators would get drunk if they drank too much. Although intoxicated, this wine could boost cultivation, making it an excellent aid for cultivation. Tianyao's delicate face turned visibly red, and Guan reminded her, "If you can't handle it, don't rush. Save it for later. You'll get used to it after a few drinks." A demon getting flushed from drinking wine? This was unexpected for Guan. Tianyao shook her head and said, "I can drink. Why wouldn't I be able to drink?" She saw Guan finish a bowl of spiritual wine and naturally didn't want to admit defeat. Moreover, despite the heat it induced, she found the sensation quite pleasant and wanted to drink more. Guan was about to speak when he suddenly sensed something. He stood up saying, "You eat some meat first. They'll be back." As his words fell, he disappeared from where he stood. Tianyao picked up the wine jar again, licked her lips, and took another sip. This time, she forced herself to endure the nasal sting and continued drinking. Under the dark night, amidst the continuous mountains, a rising and falling ridge appeared. On closer inspection, it turned out to be a giant snake with human features and legs. It was Chen's snake, who had previously appeared in the Wanji forest. Chen's snake was covered in blood, its breath weak, and its breathing sounded like muffled thunder. Around it, demon fog churned, with faint ghostly shadows approaching. Chen's snake's lively eyes were extremely fatigued, ready to close at any moment. Such powerful chi blood, an ancient species. A chilling laughter sounded, startling Chen's snake. It opened its eyes to see a figure floating above the demon fog in the distance. It was an old woman in a black robe, with 2 horns on her head and a pair of wings on her back. The black fur on her cheeks made her appear even more terrifying. The Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother gazed at Chen's snake with eyes full of greed. Chen's snake moved slightly but could not get up. The Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother began to approach Chen's snake, black demon energy swirling around her like 2 black dragons encircling Chen's snake's huge body. "If you don't want to die, turn and leave now." A voice came from Chen's snake's direction. The Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother stopped and squinted to see a little figure in white standing on Chen's snake's forehead, wearing a mask. The Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother sneered, "Who are you? Don't you know who I am?" Guan heard this, was about to answer, but then thought it was bothersome. So, he waved his sleeve, and terrifying mana surged toward the Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother, instantly turning her to ashes. You successfully seized 203 years of lifespan from the Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother, Unification Realm, 9 layers. The Demon King that Tian Yaoer feared the most died under Guan's hand, without any resistance. Chen's snake struggled to keep its eyes open and spoke weakly, "Are you the mountain god?" Its voice was androgynous, barely audible. That day, during the Ephemera sect battle, it was injured and saw the wooden figure. The wooden figure looked a lot like Guan now. Guan spoke, "Since you have saved lives, I will save you this once." He took out a bottle of elixirs he had already refined and poured them into Chen's snake's mouth. Chen's snake was seriously wounded and poisoned by the origin tree of Ephemera's ephemera poison, which could only be cured by the ephemera elixir made from ephemera. Mountain God, someone, has inherited the ephemera sect's power, Chen's snake said weakly, its snake eyes glowed, revealing a figure. Guan focused his eyes, and his expression under the mask turned peculiar. How could it be him? Chapter 149 Unify the Universe, Conquer the Demons Together. Li Xiandao. How did this guy inherit the power of the ephemera sect? Guan asked, "Inherit power? What kind of power does the ephemera sect have to inherit?" Chen's snake answered with difficulty, "The ephemera flowers spread all over the world absorb spiritual energy for the spirit of ephemera, which is also an ancient species. It can absorb the spiritual energy of the world through the ephemera flowers. Once it is merged with a living being, all the ephemera flowers will lose their vitality, leaving only the husks." The figure in its eyes was Li Xiandao, whose true form was revealed. Li Xiandao seemed to be communicating with someone, but no sound came out. Guan asked, "Are your injuries due to trying to stop him?" "That's right, he has the support of the mystic heart realm behind him, but he didn't kill me," Chen's snake replied. Guan asked, "Do you want me to kill him?" "If possible, it's best to cripple his cultivation level. The spirit of ephemera is ultimately an ominous entity. Then you should take good care of your injuries, and one day remove him yourself, your poison will soon be gone." Guan replied casually, regardless of truth. How could he possibly listen to Chen's snake's words and cripple someone just like that? Chen's snake remained silent for a moment, then said, "I was being presumptuous." Guan then disappeared from its forehead. Chen's snake also possessed mystic heart realm cultivation. Once the poison was removed, even the demons of the heavenly Phoenix Mountain couldn't do anything to it. Sensing Guan's disappearance, Chen's snake closed its eyes, and its breathing began to weaken. On the other side, Guan returned to the Nianchu cave and was surprised to find Tian Yaoer already drunk, lying on the table. He picked up the jar and found it completely empty. "This girl?" Guan smiled helplessly, picked up Tian Yaoer, and walked towards the room. "Master, must kill the demon mother, avenge my parents," Tian Yaoer mumbled as she clung to Guan's neck, her hot breath landing on his neck. Guan didn't tell her that the Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother was already dead. With a target of hatred, she would work even harder in her cultivation. The next day at noon, Guwen came to Xianxia Valley. Last night, he had used divine sense to capture that Li Xiandao had returned to Xianxia Valley. From afar, Guwen saw Li Zuando's figure. He was sitting at a stone table under a tree, holding a book in one hand. Li Xiandao, Void Crossing Realm 7th Layer 271/1599/6050, Void Crossing Realm 7th Layer. His cultivation level had increased again. The most crucial thing was that his extreme lifespan had doubled. Guwen remembered that his extreme lifespan was just over 3,000 years. Is the spirit of ephemera so powerful? Guwen suddenly felt that Li Xiandao was truly remarkable. Those with higher extreme lifespans than him didn't cultivate as quickly as he did. Even in-house cultivation speed might not be as quick as his. The most critical factor was that no one knew Li Zuando's true cultivation level. He had cultivated a special miracle skill, and his apparent cultivation level was now at the core formation realm 1st layer. Disguising Void Crossing Realm 7th Layer as core formation realm 1st layer, how crafty! Guwen thought as he walked towards Li Xiandao. Greetings, uncle. Guwen came before Li Xiandao and saluted. Li Xiandao put down the investiture of the gods in his hand and smiled. Guwen, you finally came. I have prepared a superior golden elixir for you. The original owner of this golden elixir was a first-rate genius. When your cultivation level reaches the 9th layer of the foundation establishment realm, you'll have a great cultivator help you achieve the core formation realm. Upon hearing this, Guwen quickly thanked him. Li Xiandao motioned for him to sit down and continued talking. Recently, I have been studying the investiture of the gods again and have gained many insights. What do you think would have happened if King Zhou had befriended the Chan sect from the beginning? Guwen replied, there are no what-ifs. Different natures lead to different choices. Many things are destined to happen. King Zhou was tyrannical, and the Chan sect might not have approved of his ways. Li Xiandao shook his head and said, that is too simplistic. I think the investiture of the gods carries deeper meanings. Has he become obsessed? Guwen was suddenly unsure how to respond. He carefully sensed Li Zuando's aura but did not detect any ephemera energy. He became intensely curious about Li Zuando's cultivation technique. His intuition told him that Li Zuando's technique was extremely powerful, possibly even stronger than LV Baishan's defying fate divine skill. Li Xiandao not only recruited talents everywhere but had the support of the mystic heart realm behind him. Guwen was very curious about how he managed it. Did he attract noble families with benefits, or did he apprentice under a high master? It was most likely the latter. Otherwise, how could a mystic heart realm great cultivator take an interest in an emperor? Li Xiandao began to speak about his understanding of the investiture of the gods, becoming more and more mysterious and even analyzing the motives of its characters. Guwen noticed that Yi Luyun and LV Xian had not returned. LV Xian previously had the remnant soul of the evil emperor of the ephemera sect. He suspected that Li Zuando's acquisition of the spirit of ephemera was related to LV Xian. After a long conversation, Li Xiandao reluctantly ended it and then let Guwen go to pick medicinal herbs. After Guwen finished his tasks, he came to bid farewell to Li Xiandao. Before leaving, he curiously asked, Uncle, what is your purpose this time? Li Xiandao looked at his book and casually said, I am waiting for the venerable pavilion of the Supreme Sect to come to me. Venerable pavilion? Guwen became even more curious. Had Li Xiandao already attracted one of the 3 major families? He did not continue to ask. He let these people fight as long as it did not affect him. With his current cultivation level, if not invincible in the continent, at least in the 9 dynasties, no one could threaten him. His curiosity stemmed more from a spectator mentality. Standing on high, watching these people struggle, it indeed had a certain interest. After peace returned to the world, Guwen's life resumed as usual. He traveled between various medicine valleys, occasionally visiting the outer sect city, chatting with friends in the city. To him, every day was interesting and not boring. In the blink of an eye, 5 years had passed. That summer, Guwen turned 79. His lifespan had broken through 5 million years, inching closer to 10 million years. The mystic heart realm was no longer a secret. At least in the intersect city, there were even people discussing the stories of great cultivators in the mystic heart realm. That day, Guan came to the intersect city and invited Wu Ju to a tavern for a drink. Wu Ju was very pleased with his visit. After each had drunk a jar of wine, Wu Ju said, "Brother Gu, next month, I have to leave. I probably won't come back for 10 years. Over the years, Wu Ju's extreme lifespan had not increased, possibly due to the tranquility of his days. Guan curiously asked, "Where are you going?" Wu Ju replied, "The current emperor has called for uniting the 9 dynasties and gathering the power of the world to resist the great demon calamity in decades. My master is sending me to support him." Zhou family. 5 years ago, Guan had become curious about which venerable pavilion Li Xiandao met with, so he used his divine sense to spy and discovered that the venerable pavilion was Wu Ju's master, Zhou Yu. After they met, Li Xiandao returned to the court and made a statement that shocked the world. "Unite the universe, jointly fight demons." Such arrogant words had been criticized by the Supreme Sect disciples, yet the events had defied their expectations. To everyone's surprise, the Supreme Sect sent disciples to support the dynasty, acting on behalf of Li Xiandao. This was clearly not LV Baishan's idea. Guan could sense that the atmosphere in the inner sect had become tense. It was worth noting that LV Bain had not come to find Guan in the last 5 years. If he hadn't used his divine sense to check and confirm that LV Bain was alive and well, in seclusion cultivating, he might have thought that LV Bain had been forced into deviation again. "I have a disciple named Jian. He joined the army many years ago. If you encounter him, please take good care of him." Guan smiled. Wu Ju patted his chest and smiled, "Of course, no problem. Your disciple is like my disciple." Guan raised his bowl, clinking it with Wu Ju's. They continued chatting, Wu Ju in high spirits, talking about his cultivation. He had gained deeper understanding of the Sunset Fist and Gale Shadowless Leg, saying he had developed stronger moves. Suddenly, Guan's gaze shifted to the stairs on the 2nd floor. He saw a person walking up. "Lord Way of the Heaven, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd Layer 3889/4500/4600, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd Layer." Guan glanced briefly before looking back, curious. Who is this person? He had lived for more than 3,800 years. In front of him, even the late ancestor Xian Tian would be a junior. Lord Way of the Heaven wore a blue robe and held a horsetail whisk. His beard reached below his chin, and his hair was coiled on top of his head. His aura was like the core formation realm, so he didn't attract the attention of other disciples. This kind of appearance was not uncommon in the immortal cultivation world. There were 2 people similar to him just on the inn's 2nd floor. Lord Way of the Heaven scanned around, his gaze landing on Wu Ju. He walked over and asked with a smile, "Could the 2 young friends allow this poor Daoist to join you?" Wu Ju frowned and looked at Guan. Guan smiled. "Since we are fellow disciples, how could we refuse? Daoist friend, please sit." Lord Way of the Heavens stroked his beard with a smile and sat down. He introduced himself. "This poor Daoist's surname is Wei, not a disciple of the Supreme Sect, just a visitor. Today, seeing the 2 of you, I felt a sense of familiarity and came to disturb you." His words made Wu Ju's frown even deeper. In Wu Ju's early life, the Supreme Sect had experienced several upheavals due to spies, so he had a strong aversion to cultivators from other sections. Guan asked, "Which sect do you belong to, Brother Wei?" Lord Way of the Heaven looked at Guan and smiled. "This poor Daoist comes from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Have you 2 heard of it?" Guan shook his head. Wu Ju replied unhappily, "What exactly are you trying to find out? Just say it plainly and don't disturb our drinking." Lord Way of the Heaven shook his head with a laugh. He took out a green jade from his sleeve, placed it on the table, and pushed it in front of Wu Ju. "This poor Daoist sees that you have outstanding potential, a spiritual presence at the top of your skull. You are destined to join our 7-star spirit realm and wish to invite you to cultivate there." He turned to look at Guan, who also looked at him expectantly. But he just smiled and nodded, politely but awkwardly. Guwen maintained a smile and didn't speak. Wu Ju huffed. 7 stars spirit realm? Never heard of it. I'm not going. Lord Wei of the heavens stroked his beard, laughing to himself without speaking, as if laughing at Wu Ju's ignorance. This attitude made Wu Ju even more unhappy. He glared at him, his hands already clenched into fists. Lord Wei of the heaven laughed. My young friend, do you know how many people in the 9 dynasties would want to join the 7 stars spirit realm? Even if it was just for a few years of cultivation, they would eagerly and desperately go. Hearing this, Guwen suddenly thought of the Holy Land that Ji Xiaoyu had gone to. Could the 7 stars spirit realm be the legendary Holy Land? Chapter 150. Demon Galloping, Legend of the Demon Ancestor. The 7 stars spirit realm is so powerful, why do you need to invite me? Just wait until I beg you in the future. Wu Ju replied stiffly. Upon hearing this, Lord Wei of the heaven shook his head and smiled, showing no sign of anger. In the following time, Guwen watched as Lord Wei of the heaven boasted about how powerful the 7 stars spirit realm was. Unfortunately, no matter how eloquent he was, he couldn't convince Wu Ju. Wu Ju's attitude made Guwen feel amused. If Wu Ju knew that Lord Wei of the heaven was actually at the mystic heart realm, how would he react? Suddenly, a figure appeared behind Lord Wei of the heaven. Guwen looked up and saw Wu Ju's current master, Zhou Yu. Zhou Yu, Unification Realm 9th Layer 864/2000/3100. To become a member of the Venerable Pavilion, besides having a high cultivation level, his talent must also be top-notch, not a bit inferior to LV Beiyin. Zhou Yu looked at Lord Wei of the heaven and said, Senior Lord Wei, Wu Ju is my disciple. Can we talk somewhere else? Lord Wei of the heaven turned his head to look at him and pondered, You are called Zhou Yu, right? That's right. 500 years ago, I cultivated under your knee for several years. Zhou Yu's tone was slightly respectful. Wu Ju stood up and saluted his master. Lord Wei of the heaven suddenly realized and laughed, I see. In that case, let's talk someplace else. All the disciples around who were drinking and making merry were watching them. Continuing to discuss here was indeed inappropriate. Without waiting for Wu Ju to greet Guwen, Zhou Yu grabbed his shoulder and disappeared on the spot. Lord Wei of the heaven, however, smiled and nodded at Guwen, who then raised his hand to salute in return. After Lord Wei of the heaven disappeared, a smile appeared on Guwen's lips. He picked up the wine jug, poured the wine cups for himself and Wu Ju to the brim, then raised his cup towards Wu Ju's cup and whispered, Hope your future is bright and you soon become famous throughout the world. After saying that, he drank alone, finishing it in one gulp. After drinking, Guwen got up and went downstairs, settled the bill, and left the inn. He did not go straight back to the Third Medicine Valley but headed towards the Inner Sex Book Collection Hall. Since Guwen borrowed the Chronicles of the World and the Continental Map from the Inner Sex Book Collection Hall, he had established a relationship with Elder Su Lu. Over the years, the two often exchanged about the Green Hero Travelogue, forming a friendship of an age gap. It is worth mentioning that Guwen also made the acquaintance of Ancestor Kusong in the Book Collection Hall. Ancestor Kusong hid his supreme elder identity and befriended Guwen under the guise of an inner sect disciple, and Guwen did not expose him. When he arrived at the 3rd floor of the book collection hall, Guwen found Su Lu and took out the books he had previously borrowed, then smiled and said, Elder Su, do you have any more books by Daoist Xianxia? Daoist Xianxia was the author of the book Su Lu had lent to Guwen. This book was not sold in the book collection hall. It was a book sent back by a friend of Su Lu who had gone overseas. It was said to be very popular. After reading it, Guwen found that Daoist Sunshun's writing was indeed excellent. He even saw traces of Green Hero Travelogue in it. Later, he heard from Su Lu that Green Hero got inspiration to write Green Hero Travelogue after reading this book by Daoist Xianxia. Su Lu received the books Guwen placed on the table and looked up at him, saying, Brat, you should read in your spare time from cultivation, don't get addicted to it. Guwen smiled and said, I have average talent. No matter how hard I cultivate, it's useless. In this lifetime, I can probably only reach the core formation realm. You know, I am the Valley Master of Medicine Valley. I can improve my cultivation level with elixirs. Why waste time on cultivation? I'd rather enjoy life and cherish the time being alive. Su Lu already knew his destiny, so upon hearing these words he felt they made a lot of sense. Su Lu smiled and said, "Indeed, there is still one book by Daoist Xianxia. It's with someone upstairs. Go find him." Guwen immediately cupped his hands at him, then turned and walked towards the stairs. There were only two people on the fourth floor. One was Ancestor Kusong, and the other was a great void-crossing realm cultivator. These two did not disturb each other. All the way, Guwen came to Ancestor Kusong's side. He was sitting on a chair by the window, holding a book in his hand. Supreme Immortal Venerable. This was a popular novel written by Panin. Over the years, under the operation of the Supreme Sect, Supreme Immortal Venerable, and the Investiture of the Gods, had spread to the other 8 dynasties and were very popular. The most popular was still Supreme Immortal Venerable, while the Investiture of the Gods was highly recommended by the high levels of various sections. In the world of immortal cultivation, there was a classic saying, "Look at the Investiture of the Gods for high realms, and look at the Supreme Immortal Venerable for low realms." The fact that Ancestor Kusong liked Supreme Immortal Venerable surprised Guwen. "Senior, Elder Su recommended me here. May I borrow the book by Daoist Xianxia?" Guwen asked softly. Ancestor Kusong listened and touched his left hand into his pocket, took out a book, and threw it to him. Guwen caught the book, flipped through it briefly, and immediately smiled. Ancestor Kusong suddenly asked, "Guwen, have you read the Supreme Immortal Venerable before?" Panin's identity was still a secret in the Supreme Sect, known only to a few, and Ancestor Kusong did not pursue the author's identity. "Yes, it's all right," Guwen commented. Although the Supreme Immortal Venerable was a book he originally wrote, he did not like to read it because there was no sense of novelty. Ancestor Kusong chuckled. "Then you don't understand the greatness of Supreme Immortal Venerable. In my opinion, this book is better than the Investiture of the Gods, because it can resonate with the majority, showing that the author understands the mundane world." Guwen said, "But I still like the Investiture of the Gods better. It has more detail and more imagination." The two began to argue about which book was better. Guwen did not intend to let him win. After all, ostensibly Guwen did not know his true identity. They were friends with a significant age difference but shared a common interest. If Guwen always agreed with him, flattering him, it would rather be boring. After a long argument, Guwen had the upper hand and left satisfied. Ancestor Kusong, who had been blowing his nose and glowering, watched Guwen go downstairs. The anger on his face subsided, turning into a playful smile. At this moment, the great void-crossing realm cultivator walked over. This was a man dressed in a gray Taoist robe. He came to Ancestor Kusong and asked with a smile, "Ancestor, why are you arguing with a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator?" He is in the Foundation Establishment realm, but the fact that he can enter the inner sect shows he is not so simple, does it? Ancestor Kusong asked in return. The gray-robed man shook his head. Maybe he has some background, but cultivation levels don't lie. Ancestor Kusong smiled but did not reply, continuing to read the Supreme Immortal Venerable. The gray-robed man continued to ask, "The 9 dynasties sects plan to jointly explore the demon land to find the cause of the demon calamity. Will you go?" Ancestor Kusong replied, "Yes, these old bones of mine have no hope of advancing further. After enjoying some more leisurely days, I will head to the demon land." The gray-robed man, upon hearing this, said, "Ancestor, take me with you." "Nonsense, this trip is life-threatening. Even though I'm at the Mystic Heart Realm, I can't protect you." "Is it that terrifying? Do you think the Ephemera sect dares only to make trouble in the 9 dynasties lands for no reason? Could it be that there is also a Mahayana expert in the demon land?" Ancestor Kusong did not answer. He shifted his gaze to the window. Beneath the blue sky, disciples flew in and out. The scenery was beautiful. Deep night. Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, Nianchu Cave. Guwen was teaching Tian Yaoer how to cultivate the limitless freedom step. Xianxia was the only one to inherit the limitless freedom step. Together with the primordial earth immortal skill, in 1,000 years, her strength would certainly be very powerful. In the same realm, it might not be said that she would be invincible, but no one, neither human nor demon, could stop her. Xianxia was very excited about Gu An's teachings. This was the first time Guan had taught her a spell. The step technique of the limitless freedom step was very complex, and Xianxia practiced it with great effort. Guan was not in a hurry, since this step technique required years of cultivation to show its effects. If Xianxia could master it after just practicing it once, he would be devastated. 5 years passed. Guan pondered when to help Xianxia form a core. Xianxia used to be like a medicine pot. When they first met, she had already reached the 9th layer of the foundation establishment realm, only one step away from the core formation realm. She previously lacked a cultivation technique, but now, with the primordial earth immortal skill, breaking through was no longer a difficult matter. Guan, watching Xianxia's graceful figure, suddenly sensed something and released his divine sense. His divine sense ascended into the sky, overlooking the entire heavenly Phoenix Mountain. He saw a magnificent scene. Countless demons were rushing towards the north like a tidal wave, covering the land and mountains. In the night, demon fog rolled incessantly, unable to conceal the figures of the demons. With one sweep of his divine sense, Guan saw demons, monsters, and ghosts. Their march caused the land and mountains to tremble, and the commotion intensified. After a while, Nianchu Cave also began to tremble slightly, startling Xianxia into stopping. She nervously came to Guan's side, grabbing his arm with both hands, her eyes full of fear. She whispered, "It's happening again." Guan looked down at her and asked, "Why do you say that?" Xianxia answered, "When I was very young, the same thing happened. Many demons went north, even the demon mother went. It was said they were going to meet the demon ancestor." "The demon ancestor? Tell me about it." Guan became interested, pulling Xianxia to sit at the stone table. Xianxia took a deep breath and began to tell the legend of the demon ancestor she had heard. Legend has it that a long time ago, the first demon was born between heaven and earth. He was the demon ancestor. He was born above all beings, and in the long years of feeling lonely, he sprinkled his blood on the earth, allowing the beings of the world to be baptized and then transform into demons. Later, creatures called humans appeared on the earth. They were terrifyingly powerful and slaughtered demons on a large scale. At this point, Xianxia couldn't help but look at Guan nervously, for she already knew that Guan was not a demon, but a human. To demons who had never interacted with humans, humans were terrifying beings. If Guan hadn't saved her, she would have long attempted to escape. Guan wore a mask, and seeing no reaction from him, Xianxia mustered the courage to continue. That group of foreign cultivators of the human race was extremely powerful. They slaughtered demons, seizing demon cores and treasures, and ultimately enraged the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor personally took action and repelled the terrifying cultivators of the human race. However, the true calamity had just begun. Many years later, cultivators of the human race attacked again, and this time, their numbers were even greater. To protect the demon clan, the demon ancestor eventually fell, perishing completely. After that, humans took root on the earth, and the demon clan faced a period of oppression. During these long years of oppression, the demon clan always sought to revive the demon ancestor and exterminate the human race. Until now, the demon ancestor was about to be resurrected, and every few decades, all the demons in the world would go to worship the demon ancestor, offering their demon blood. Chapter 151, Ridge of 10,000 Demons, Person of Heavenly Destiny. Listening to the legend of the demon ancestor, Guan felt an odd sensation within. So, the 9 dynasties on the continent were the invaders? No wonder the Holy Land didn't assist the 9 dynasties. But Guan didn't ponder too much. He wouldn't sympathize with the demon clan or blame the 9 dynasties over this. The fight for survival had never been defined by good and evil. Besides, There might have been other races on this continent before the demon clan emerged. The evolution of heaven and earth had always been about survival of the fittest, the old being replaced by the new. As a human, Guwen naturally had to consider things from the perspective of the human race. If one had a sense of righteousness, one wouldn't annihilate the demon clan completely. In fact, the human race and demon clan could coexist. In the immortal cultivation world, the presence of demons was common. Demon pets had become an indispensable element for most cultivators. In some sects, powerful demon creatures could even become guardian deities, worshipped by cultivators. After Tian Yaoer finished speaking, she looked nervously at Guwen and suddenly grabbed his left hand. "Master, can't humans and demons really coexist? Why must it always be a fight to the death?" Although she feared humans, she didn't dislike them because she had never encountered humans since childhood. On the contrary, those who persecuted her were from the demon clan. Guwen withdrew his hand, saying, "It's not just about races in this world. To become stronger, one inevitably walks the path of struggle. Rather than worrying and feeling sorrowful, it's better to focus on cultivation because your enemies won't sympathize with you. If you wish to sympathize with others, you must become powerful enough." Because of the memories from his past life, aside from the friends he had genuinely bonded with, Guwen viewed the world with a sense of detachment. When the chaos erupted in the Supreme Sect's outer sect, he had etched the word righteousness into his mind, but he didn't feel extreme hatred toward those actions. When the ephemera sect ravaged the world, he didn't harbor extreme hatred either. He could immerse himself in the mundane world, yet deep within he harbored a kind of solitude. This solitude allowed him to see through everything clearly and kept him from being swayed by his surroundings. After listening to his words, Tian Yaoer nodded earnestly and said, "If the demon ancestor is resurrected and humans are driven away, Master, wherever you go, you must take me with you." Guwen smiled and asked, "Is the demon ancestor really that powerful? Will humans surely be driven away?" "I once heard the demon mother say that once the demon ancestor is resurrected, this continent will completely become a land of demons and devils. The human cultivators of today simply can't contend with the demon ancestor," Tian Yaoer said with her head tilted. "So powerful?" Guwen grew even more intrigued by the demon ancestor. If nothing went wrong, when the calamity of demons and devils erupted, he would have to deal with the demon ancestor. Moreover, Guwen was half skeptical of Tian Yaoer's words. He felt there were more secrets hidden on this continent, not fully explained by this legend. If the continent truly belonged entirely to the demon clan, then where did the devils and ghosts come from? Devils were not just another term for demons. They existed as a separate force. If humans practiced demonic power, they became demon cultivators. If the demon clan practiced demonic power, they became demon devils. Why did demonic power appear? Moreover, Guwen sensed that the demon land had an extremely heavy aura of resentment, far surpassing that of the 9 Dynasties' lands. In the demon land, human cultivators were rarely seen. It couldn't be said that all of this resentment was caused by human cultivators, right? Then, Guwen asked Tian Yaoer to continue cultivating the limitless freedom step, while he used his divine sense to track the roaming demons and devils. Under the night sky, various demons galloped through the mountains and wilderness, and numerous demon birds flew over the hilltops. On closer look, amidst the demons were also shadows of devils and ghosts. The difference between devil shadows and ghost shadows was that these devil shadows emanated demonic chi, like masses of black mist flying by. Guwen's divine sense tracked them over a distance of millions of miles, witnessing an ever-increasing number of demons and devils. Along the way, the number of demons and devils reached a level that even made a nirvana realm cultivator like him shiver. If the calamity of demons and devils truly erupted and he didn't intervene, the 9 Dynasties' territories would likely be swiftly overrun. Approaching the depths of the demon land, Guwen also sensed the aura of Mystic Heart Realm demon devils. These demon devils were not stirred by the tide of demons and still remained in their respective caves. Eventually, Guwen's divine sense halted within a cluster of volcanoes. Here, lava spread everywhere, the night sky covered in hot, thick smoke, and some volcanoes continuously erupted, spectacular and terrifying. According to the map provided by Su Lu, this should be the Ridge of 10,000 Demons, deep within the continent. The Ridge of 10,000 Demons had over 10,000 volcanoes, housing countless demon kings, with an uncountable number of demon devils. The author of Chronicles of the World passed through here but dared not delve deeper because the overwhelming demon energy filled him with dread. He learned about the Ridge of 10,000 Demons by capturing and interrogating a demon creature. Guwen could feel the aura of thousands of Unification Realm beings and more than 20 Mystic Heart Realm beings, including a Great Ascension Realm presence, here. At this moment, countless demon devils within the Ridge of 10,000 Demons were also rushing northward. Guwen didn't continue probing north, not because his divine sense couldn't extend further, but because there were already Great Ascension Realm demon devils here. The demon ancestor was likely beyond the Great Ascension Realm. Reflecting on the legend mentioned by Tian Yao, it seemed highly probable. The blood of a Great Ascension being wasn't that extraordinary, but a Nirvana realm being was different. Their essence of life had already transformed, just like Guwen's blood was no longer mundane. Guwen didn't want to alert the enemy. After all, the calamity of demons wasn't happening tomorrow. He still had time to extend his lifespan. Once his lifespan reached 10 million years, his strength would experience a significant leap. Maintain composure. The advantage was on his side. Guwen retracted his divine sense and continued guiding Tian Yao in her cultivation. Spring passed, autumn came, and 3 more years went by. One afternoon, the 82-year-old Guwen transformed into a small figure clad in white and arrived at the North Sea Mountain to visit Sage Xianxia. Sage Xianxia had been left to his own devices. Guwen only visited every few months, and Sage Xianxia had gotten used to it. He spent his days cultivating in the mountain god temple, living quite comfortably. Upon his arrival, Guwen noticed there was someone else outside the temple, and it was someone familiar. And Hao stood side by side with Sage Xianxia on the edge of a hillside, together overlooking the vast North Sea. It seemed the two shared a good relationship, forged from their unrecognized encounters during the Golden List tournament. And Hao had already broken through to the first layer of the nascent soul realm, and he wasn't yet 50 years old. It looked like Hao had great potential to surpass the breakthrough speed of Li Xiandao. Your cultivation speed is already fast enough. What you need now is to calm your mind, Sage Xianxia said, his tone rather helpless. Before participating in the Golden List tournament, he truly believed his talent was unrivaled in the world. Being defeated by Hao didn't leave him despondent. Rather, he felt fortunate. He was glad to have met Hao, which allowed him to recognize his own limits early on and thus cultivate better. Hao stood tall, his arms crossed over his chest, his handsome face with loosely tied long hair, exuding both a free-spirited aura and the demeanor of a prodigy. He chewed on a blade of grass, softly laughing. I don't feel that my cultivation speed is very fast. For some reason, since I started cultivating, I've constantly felt a sense of urgency. If I don't hasten my cultivation, disaster will surely befall me. He gazed at the North Sea's surface, his eyes profound. Seeing the kid who, back then, wasn't even up to his shoulder, now growing into such a figure, Guwen felt a great sense of accomplishment. If it weren't for him, Hao would have long perished in the jaws of demons. Moreover, he had guided Hao in his cultivation, so he deserved to feel this sense of achievement. Hearing Hao's words, Guwen thought of the limit of one's lifespan. Could it be that geniuses like Hao could sense the existence of heavenly destiny? If he couldn't achieve nirvana within 10,000 years, he would eventually die. Sage Xianxia sighed. Since that's the case, let me guide you. Previously, while passing through Tanwei, my treasure guided me to the ruins of a great cultivator's cave abode. However, the restrictions inside were complex, and I couldn't comprehend them at the time, so I set it aside and came to participate in the Golden List tournament. You can try, as there are great opportunities inside. Upon hearing this, Hao couldn't help but ask for the exact location of the cave abode ruins. Sage Xianxia took a map from his storage bag and handed it to Hao. After chatting a while longer, Hao prepared to leave. Before departing, he reminded, The hateful Heaven Divine Sword has been causing quite a stir in the immortal cultivation world recently. The sword master has already turned to demonic cultivation and learned an evil art, killing more and more people. Be careful in these deep mountains so he doesn't catch you. If the mountain god is always drowsy, no one can save you. Sage Xianxia laughed. I am at the 5th layer of the divinity transformation realm. The hateful Heaven Divine Sword hasn't yet killed a divinity transformation cultivator. And Hao shook his head with a wry smile, waved his hand, and turned to leave. He leaped, a flying sword emerging from his waist. He stepped onto it and quickly vanished at the edge of the North Sea. Sage Xianxia watched for a while, then turned back to the temple. Just as he entered the courtyard, he heard the voice of the mountain god. This boy's root bones are extraordinary, and his chi fortune is remarkable. Looking up, he saw the mountain god sitting on the temple's eaves, watching in Hao's departing figure. Sage Xianxia smiled and said, his talent is indeed unparalleled. My master once said that the supreme sect would give birth to a genius capable of changing the world, and perhaps it's him. Guwen chuckled upon hearing this. So, the 3 Pure Ones mountain is this impressive? Sage Xianxia replied. 3 Pure Ones mountain certainly can't compare to you. Though the Daoist tradition has existed for over 10,000 years, our masters have mastered some prediction techniques. Actually, our 3 Pure Ones mountain also hails from overseas. Our ancestors couldn't return, so they settled on this continent. He began introducing 3 Pure Ones mountain, and Guwen listened attentively. Just the divine reaching mystic gate alone was enough to make him regard 3 Pure Ones mountain highly. By the way, our Li family also has a person of heavenly destiny, brimming with chi fortune. This person should also be a disciple of the supreme sect, though he has not yet showcased his talent. When he encounters a great opportunity, he might soar to the heavens and rival in Hao. I'm looking forward to that day, Sage Xianxia said, gazing up at Guwen with an expectant expression. Guwen curiously asked, do you have a clear calculation on the person of heavenly destiny? It's hard to pin down in calculation, but it should be him. Other Li family disciples' talents aren't outstanding enough. Sage Xianxia shook his head. Guwen knew who he was talking about. The most talented disciple of the Li family in the supreme sect could only be Li Ya. But in truth, Li Zuando's talent was even more terrifying. Perhaps Li Xiandao was the true person of heavenly destiny in the Li family. From the current trend, Li Xiandao indeed had the talent to rival in Hao. Chapter 152 Master, Save Me. After chatting with Sage Xianxia for a while, Guwen asked him to take him to the medicine garden for a look. Sage Xianxia had planted a medicine garden at the foot of the mountain, quite large in scale, managed by a few minor demons. Guwen began to pick the ripe medicinal herbs and lectured Sage Xianxia with a bunch of grand principles. Sage Xianxia listened very attentively to the principles of the mountain god, feeling that every word contained the true meaning of Tao. After picking, Guwen took only half, leaving the other half for Sage Xianxia to refine elixirs and cultivate. Although it was not the first time this happened, Sage Xianxia was moved every time. Even though he was a servant, serving for a lifetime, he was actually cultivating under the mountain god's guidance, which was a great blessing. Sage Xianxia felt that the mountain god had an important mission to entrust to him, because the mountain god said, when heaven is about to bestow a great responsibility on a man, it first exercises his mind, toils his bones, starves his body, empties him of possession, and disturbs his deeds. The planting of medicinal herbs might not be something the mountain god needed, but rather a way to temper his character. Regarding the mission that the mountain god wanted to pass on to him, he had a bold guess, and every time he thought of it, he couldn't help but feel restless and tried not to think about it. The medicine garden of the mountain god temple had not yet become a stable source of lifespan for Guwen. He now mainly relied on Mystic Valley, 8 scenic caves, 3rd Medicine Valley, Tianya Valley, and Yanchu Cave. Each year, he could obtain nearly 200,000 years of lifespan, although there were occasional fluctuations. His lifespan had already exceeded 5,600,000 years. If nothing unexpected happened, he would reach 10 million years in 20 years. The great calamity of the demons and monsters was unlikely to erupt within 20 years. According to the predictions within the Supreme Sect, it would take at least 50 years for the great calamity of the demons and monsters to erupt. After returning to Mystic Valley, Guwen continued to act as an ordinary disciple. It was worth mentioning that Gu Zong had already promoted Gu into an inner sect disciple, but Guwen still preferred to wander around the outer city. He had many friends in the outer sect. He was a nostalgic person. Just like that, another year passed. Summer arrived. Guwen was practicing calligraphy in a pavilion in Mystic Valley. While practicing, he was also contemplating the profound formations in the Ziwei Array Chronicles. Lu Jiojia suddenly came to visit Guwen. Hearing the knock on the door, Guwen let him in. He closed the door, walked to the desk, and said, "Senior brother, I have news about Wuxin." Wuxin was Gu An's junior disciple, a spy from the Thousand Autumn Pavilion. Although Wuxin had left, he had left behind the Daoist expansion skill. Guwen did not look up, continuing to stare at the paper, saying, "Let's hear it." Lu Jiojia immediately said, "Due to the chaos in the ephemera sect, the Thousand Autumn Pavilion has disbanded. I originally thought he had perished, but recently I heard that a young monk has appeared under the Emperor's command, calling himself Wuxin. This monk acts ruthlessly. He once slaughtered 9,000 soldiers of the Hanlu dynasty by himself and refined their heads into magic artifacts. This matter has caused a huge sensation in the immortal cultivation world. The Emperor, in his quest to unify the world, employs people without regard for morality. Now he has quite a few demon cultivators and ghost cultivators under his command." After hearing this, Guwen sighed at Wuxin's transformation. As for Wuxin's actions, he could not comment. It was worth noting that the immortal cultivation world in the Nine Dynasties had tacitly approved of Li Zuando's actions, allowing the dynasties to go to war. But there was one rule: no matter how they fought, the sects were not to be involved. At least, the grudges of the dynasties could not escalate to the sections. Of course, although the rule was like this, the Supreme Sect would secretly support Li Xiandao, and the immortal cultivation sects of the Hanlu dynasty would also send aid. Cultivators from the Nine Dynasties all hoped that the dynasty which unified the world would be their own dynasty. Lu Jiojia exclaimed, "Wuxin's current strength is probably comparable to the core formation realm. Given his talent, he couldn't be this powerful. He must have practiced some kind of demon skill. Senior brother, you must be careful if you encounter him in the future." He had once strayed onto the demon path and deeply understood the feeling of falling into the demon path, where one would stop at nothing to become stronger. In that state, only oneself was important in their heart. Guwen nodded, saying, "Don't worry, I normally won't leave the Supreme Sect's territory." He certainly won't dare to come. The Supreme Sect was flourishing. The influence of the Golden List Conference and the works of Pan and brought in more and more disciples to the Supreme Sect. Many powerful loose cultivators also joined the Supreme Sect. Each passing year saw a significant increase in the Supreme Sect's strength on paper. The most noticeable point was that Guwen rarely saw demon cultivators infiltrate the Supreme Sect anymore. After speaking about this matter, Lu Jiojia no longer disturbed Guwen continued practicing calligraphy, thinking that he could showcase his penmanship in the next book. Such beautiful calligraphy should not be hidden for personal admiration. Perhaps I am not a genius in immortal cultivation, but I am definitely a genius in calligraphy. Guwen praised himself in his heart, feeling increasingly joyful. At that moment, he suddenly felt someone calling him. He thought it was Sage Xian Miao, but sweeping his divine sense, he realized Sage Xian Miao was meditating. He carefully sensed it and discovered that the call was not from the mountain god. It was, "Master, save me." Under the blue sky and white clouds, hundreds of cultivators floated among the mountains, facing a mountain wall and continuously casting spells. No matter how their spiritual power attacked, they could not shake the mountain wall. Each time it was attacked, the mountain wall would reveal a layer of blue light, blocking all attacks. An elder flew to the side of a purple-robed man who had not taken action, saying in a deep voice, "Your Highness, the restriction here is too strong. Even I, a void-crossing realm cultivator, cannot break it. The purple-robed man was a prince of the Tianwei dynasty, named Xizong, with cultivation in the first layer of the divinity transformation realm. Xizong's expression was indifferent as he spoke. Continue attacking. Even if we cannot break it, we must frighten that kid. My master will arrive soon. Also, have a group spread out to prevent that kid from escaping. He is the golden list champion of the supreme sect. If he escapes this time, it will be difficult to capture him again. Once he grows stronger, he will be a great trouble for Tianwei. Yes. The elder accepted the order and left immediately. Meanwhile, inside the mountain wall, through a winding tunnel, in a spacious cave chamber, and Hao was meditating to heal his injuries. Beside him stood a young woman in yellow clothing, richly dressed, with a beautiful face. Hey, my second brother's master is at the Mystic Heart Realm. He is the supreme elder of Candle Sky Peak, the #1 sect of Tianwei. He will get what he wants. I advise you to open the mountain gate, let him in, and apologize. I can plead for mercy on your behalf to my second brother. The young woman in yellow clothing spoke. She was named Xianxia, a princess of Tianwei. At this moment, she was standing still, speaking only with her mouth, her body stiff. A talisman paper was stuck to her shoulder. And Hao kept his eyes closed, ignoring her. His face was pale. He realized that the situation was critical. He had almost no hope of escaping alive. While healing, he thought of his master. His biggest wish was to see his master. Even knowing that his master was Sword Venerable Fudao, he still did not know his master's true identity. No one in the Supreme Sect knew who Sword Venerable Fudao really was, not even his second master LV Baidin. Because of this, and Hao worked even harder in cultivation. His true master was stronger than the entire Supreme Sect. If he did not cultivate diligently, how could he satisfy his master? And Hao felt both unwillingness and a bit of shame. He hoped that in this critical moment, his master would come to save him. Although Xizong had the cultivation of the divinity transformation realm, he could not really harm him. The troublesome thing was that Xizong could call for help, and he brought a group of high-level cultivators. This made Hao feel very frustrated. He also had backing. If his master were here, he believed that no matter how many people Xizong called, it would be useless. With Xianxia's incessant nagging, his mind was in disarray. Unable to help it, he opened his eyes, glared at Xianxia, and cursed, "If you keep talking, be careful I don't strip you and have my way with you before I die." At these words, Xianxia's face turned pale. She quickly shut her mouth, staring at him with large, aggrieved and angry eyes. Cough, cough. And Hao's anger caused a backflow of blood, leading to a fit of coughing. He disliked spitting blood, so he swallowed the backflowed blood, enduring the discomfort. Soon, he calmed down and continued to practice and heal his wounds. An ancient hour later, Xianxia couldn't help but ask, "Hey, and Hao, do you think that statue is the statue of the cave owner?" Following her gaze, one could see a stone statue standing in the center of the cave chamber. It depicted an elderly man standing on a tortoise, holding a wooden staff, with a hunched back and a kindly face. Although it was a stone statue, it had a feeling of coming to life. With eyes closed, and Hao responded, "Perhaps." Suddenly, he thought of something and immediately stood up, walking to the statue. He began to circle the statue, carefully observing. "Did you discover something?" Xianxia asked curiously. And Hao did not answer her. At that moment, a terrifying pressure descended, halting in Hao's steps and turning his face pale. Xianxia was similarly frightened. "Master, you have finally arrived." From outside came Xizong's delighted shout. He deliberately spoke loudly, clearly for Hao and Xianxia to hear. "I didn't expect this place to hide the grotto heaven remains of an ancient great cultivator. All of you, move aside." A cold voice rang out, and Hao's expression turned grim upon hearing it. Xianxia gloated, "Hey, are you afraid now? Quickly unseal me. Otherwise, when they break in, you will surely die." Rumble. The cave chamber shook violently, sand and dust fell, as if it would collapse at any moment. A terrifying divine sense had already penetrated inside, making In Hao's heart jump and his forehead sweat. No matter how talented he was, he could not be a match for the Mystic Heart Realm. Not to mention Mystic Heart Realm, even a void-crossing realm could crush him. At this moment, In Hao could not remain calm. He clenched his fists, inexplicably thinking of his master's figure. "Damn it, master, save me," In Hao gritted his teeth, muttering under his breath. Xianxia laughed gleefully upon hearing this. "Isn't your master the sect leader of the Supreme Sect? It said he is only at the Unification Realm. He's not a match for my brother's master. Besides, he's far away in the Supreme Sect. He couldn't possibly come to save you." And Hao glared at her, shouting angrily, "The master I speak of is not LV Baden." Xianxia pouted and asked, "Do you have a Mystic Heart Realm master then?" And Hao could not answer because he had promised his master not to reveal his master's existence. At that moment, a hand pressed on In Hao's shoulder, startling him. Then he heard a voice that made his eyes redden. "Silly disciple, it's only been how many years, and you're already calling for me to save you?" Chapter 153. Get Lost. The hand pressed against In Hao's shoulder belonged to Guan. And Hao turned his head cautiously, and upon seeing Guan, the joy in his heart erupted completely. "Master!" And Hao couldn't help but turn around and embrace Guan. Although Guan was still wearing a mask and his attire was different from before, and Hao recognized him at a glance as his master. Guan suddenly disappeared, causing In Hao to stumble forward a step. He looked back to find Guan 7 steps away, which made him sigh in relief. For a moment when his master disappeared, he thought he had fallen into an illusion. "Tell me what happened?" Guan asked. The mountain was still trembling, but with Guan's arrival, In Hao didn't feel any panic. Instead, he was very excited and began narrating the whole feud. Guan listened carefully. Not far away, Xianxia stared at Guan with eyes full of curiosity. "This person is In Hao's master? How did he get in here?" During his narration, In Hao couldn't resist using his divine sense to probe Guan's true face, but the power within the mask rebounded his divine sense, making him feel a thrill of fear. Guan remained silent, which made In Hao feel ashamed. He dared not offend his master any further and concentrated fully on recounting his grudge with Prince Xizong of the Tianwei dynasty. 2 months ago, he found this cave ruin site based on the map given by sage Xian Miao. However, he couldn't enter it. After struggling for a month, he went out for further training and then met Xizong and Xianxia. Xizong had participated in the Golden List competition back in the day and even made it to the top 10. The two had been rivals. Upon meeting again, they hit it off, making In Hao think he had made a close friend like sage Xian Miao. So, the three shared pleasant times traveling and sightseeing. Later, In Hao shared the opportunity with Xizong and his sister. Unexpectedly, Xizong had always held a grudge for losing to In Hao. Learning that In Hao came for the opportunity, he planned to capture In Hao. After a fierce battle, both were seriously injured, and In Hao abducted Xianxia. In Hao brought Xianxia back here. During their argument, they accidentally triggered a mechanism, revealing the cave entrance in the mountain wall. Just as they were about to enter, they didn't expect Xizong to catch up so quickly, with even a void-crossing realm cultivator accompanying him. And Hao was severely injured by an ambush while bringing Xianxia into the cave. Fortunately, the cave entrance closed in time, saving him from further danger. After In Hao finished speaking, he was very angry and cursed, "That dog Xizong. I trusted him so much, I must have been blind." Xianxia pursed her lips but didn't speak up for Xizong, as she also disapproved of his actions. Boom! An explosion echoed from the cave passage, followed by a gust of wind that ruffled the robes of the three. Guan then looked at the statue in the center of the cave chamber, deep in thought. Footsteps sounded, and In Hao didn't panic. He moved next to Xianxia, preparing to use her as a hostage. "Let her go. There's no need to use a woman as a threat, it's meaningless." Guan's voice rang out. Xianxia immediately beamed, quickly saying, "Thank you, Senior, you are indeed wise." and Hao glared at her but obediently removed the talisman paper from her body. As soon as the talisman paper was removed, Xianxia regained control of her body and sighed in relief. She didn't run toward the cave passage but stood beside Hao. Just then, a group of cultivators came through the cave entrance, led by Xizong. Behind him was a man in a black robe with golden patterns, an imposing presence, half-white hair, a handsome face, and cold eyes exuding an indescribable pressure. Xizong's gaze fell on Guan, his brows furrowing. He raised his hand in greeting and asked, "May I ask who you are, Daoist friend, and why are you here?" Xianxia spoke up, "Second brother, he's Hao's master. Let's end this matter here." "Master?" Xizong's frown deepened and he asked, "Are you sect master LV?" Guan glanced at the black-robed man behind Xizong and performed lifespan detection. Ancestor Xianxia, Mystic Heart Realm 2nd Layer 1904/4400/4600. The Tianwei dynasty truly hid dragons and crouching tigers. It's unclear if this person had been cultivating in Tianwei all along or if he returned from overseas due to the ephemera sect. Guan spoke, "I am not LV Baden. This cave was found by my disciple first. I advise you all to leave it at that." The cultivators behind Xizong were taken aback, surprised by this person's firm attitude. And Hao grew excited and looked at Xizong provocatively. Ancestor Xianxia stepped forward, standing in front of Xizong. He scrutinized Guan, asking, "May I know your name, Daoist friend? Why not show your true face?" His divine sense couldn't penetrate Guan's mask, making him wary of Guan. But only a little. After all, he was a Mystic Heart Realm cultivator. He had fought other Mystic Heart Realm experts during his battles with the ephemera sect, with mixed results. As a fellow Mystic Heart Realm cultivator, he couldn't be killed. Unless this person was as powerful as the ephemera sect hierarch at the Mahayana realm. Mahayana realm? Ancestor Xianxia didn't believe it. If there was such a powerful existence, why hadn't he heard of it before? Guan turned to Ancestor Xianxia and uttered one word, "Scram." Scram. Everyone's faces changed drastically, especially those on Xizong's side. They knew Ancestor Xingyan's background. Audacious! How dare you speak rudely to a great cultivator of the Mystic Heart Realm? An elder scolded angrily, while Ancestor Xianxia laughed coldly. And Hao was extremely excited. As expected of his master, how domineering! Xianxia looked at Guan, feeling that his arrogance stemmed from genuine confidence. Just as Ancestor Xianxia was about to speak, Guan sighed and muttered, "Annoying." As the words fell, Guan suddenly waved his sleeve. Mana burst forth, transforming into a strong wind that swept towards Ancestor Xianxia, Xizong, and the others. His actions were too fast for anyone to react. As the strong wind passed, Ancestor Xianxia and the others turned to ashes, and their storage bags and rings fell to the ground. The cave chamber instantly fell silent. And Hao's eyes widened, and Xianxia froze, rubbing her eyes in disbelief. As series of messages appeared before Guan's eyes, indicating that killing 57 cultivators had granted him over 1,200 years of lifespan. Guan ignored Hao and Xianxia's shock, then approached the statue. "The Mystic Heart Realm dead?" Xianxia muttered, beads of cold sweat forming on her forehead as she instinctively felt fear. And Hao was stunned for a while, then cheered and ran to Guan's side, excitedly saying, "Master, how are you so powerful? What is your true realm? Are you at the Mahayana realm as mentioned by the ephemera sect hierarch?" Mahayana realm. These three words made Xianxia's heart race. She could no longer think about Xizong's death, as her heart was filled with fear and anxiety. She immediately ran towards the cave's entrance. And Hao just glanced at her and didn't stop her. After Guan's earlier display, he felt incredibly confident. Even if the entire Tianwei dynasty surrounded their master and disciple duo, it would be courting death. Guan paid no attention to Hao. Seeing his master examine the statue, Hao dared not interrupt, standing obediently by the side. He looked at Guan with intense admiration in his eyes. He couldn't help but activate his spiritual power, stimulating his senses to ensure he wasn't dreaming. With such a powerful master, could he have destroyed the ephemera sect without the mountain god's intervention? Such a thought crossed in Hao's mind, and his admiration for Guan deepened. Before long, Xianxia returned. It turned out she wasn't escaping but rather telling the outside cultivators to leave quickly to avoid dying because of Xizong. She quietly waited beside Hao. And Hao frowned at her, and she raised her face defiantly and glared at him. At this moment, Guan raised his hand and struck the statue with a palm. Under his mana control, the statue began rotating. As the turtle statue moved, water started flowing from its base. After the statue rotated halfway, the turtle's mouth opened, and a beam of white light shot out, hitting the mountain wall. Under the watchful eyes of Hao and Xianxia, the mountain wall revealed complex and dense ancient characters, each character writhing as if it wanted to escape the wall, making the two of them widen their eyes in astonishment. The strong light shone on their faces, and it seemed like a sun was forming in their eyes, growing larger. Upon closer inspection, a mass of strong light appeared on the mountain wall where the strange words were, expanding as if a gate to an exotic world was opening. The statue suddenly raised the stone staff in its hand and lightly tapped it. The strong light ahead sharply increased, enveloping the entire cave chamber, and a rich spiritual energy rushed towards Guan and the two. Guan immediately walked towards the mountain wall, with Hao following closely. Xianxia gritted her teeth and followed. Within the strong light, Hao couldn't cast spells, and even his divine sense couldn't spread out, forcing him to forge ahead. After about 10 steps, he suddenly bumped into someone and quickly stopped. Just as he was about to speak, the strong light before him faded, restoring his vision. What came into his view was a magnificent and beautiful world. They stood on a cliff, in front of boundless green mountains, with a blue sky and interwoven white clouds. Such rich spiritual energy. Hao was drawn to the area's spiritual energy and couldn't help but take a deep breath. "What is that?" Xianxia exclaimed, pointing to the distant forest. Hao turned his head and followed her direction, seeing the trees swaying as if a gigantic beast was moving through them a few miles away. "This is truly blessing," a loud and ancient voice echoed through the skies. "Mayana realm." Hao and Xianxia's hearts raced. Guan remained calm, sensing the presence of 4 spirit beasts comparable to the unification realm, as well as a Mahayana realm remnant soul in this minor heaven and earth. The remnant soul was located within a stone statue hundreds of miles away, very weak. Guan spoke, "Go and give it a try, see if you have such blessing." Upon hearing this, Hao immediately leaped into the forest, followed by Xianxia. After paying her respects to Guan, "Wait for me." Xianxia shouted, quickly disappearing into the forest. Gu and his figure vanished, crossing a distance of hundreds of miles, reaching halfway up a mountain where a stone statue identical to the one in the cave chamber stood. However, when the wooden box was unsealed, the skyrocketing demon energy left a profound impression on Daoist Starmaster. Apart from these memories, the rest were scenes of Daoist Starmaster nurturing spirit beasts within the grotto heaven. The demon ancestor being related to the 7 stars spirit realm greatly differed from the legends Tianyao had heard. Various possibilities filled Guan's mind, but he had no desire to investigate further. Daoist Starmaster was a Mahayana cultivator, indicating the likely presence of immortals within the 7 stars spirit realm. At this stage, he absolutely could not appear on the 7 stars spirit realm's radar. His greatest advantage was having no grudges or enemies, allowing him to steadily grow stronger. With that thought, Guan turned around, ready to harvest the medicinal herbs here and transport a batch of heavenly treasures away. By dusk, Guan returned to the 3rd Medicine Valley. This afternoon's harvest extended his life by over 300,000 years. He could continue the harvesting in the future, as the grotto heaven was vast and had become a self-sustaining ecosystem, so he didn't uproot everything. How could he be short-sighted and destroy a place that could continuously extend his life just for temporary greed? The plants that could extend his life must contain spiritual power or spiritual energy, essentially ranking as heavenly treasures. The majority of plants in the grotto heaven were ordinary, and the dense spiritual energy was due to the cave mansion's restrictions that prevented leakage. And Hao and Xianxia were still inside that cave mansion, making friends with the spirit beasts there, facing no danger for now. Daoist Star Master left behind cultivation techniques and divine skills in the grotto heaven, enough for Hao and Xianxia to explore for years. As soon as he returned to the pavilion, Lu Lingjun came to see him. With the door closed, Lu Lingjun sat down at the table and said, "Don't wander around every day. Today, I felt a strong divine sense coming from the outer gate city. The moment it sensed mine, it withdrew. I couldn't trace its whereabouts." "Are you saying there's a potential danger within the Supreme Sect?" Guwen asked with a frown. Lu Lingjun nodded. "It should be a demon. A demon's divine sense is different from a cultivator's, and I've dealt with demons enough to see through this point." Being able to evade Lu Lingjun's probing indicated their target was also at the Mystic Heart Realm. A Mystic Heart Realm demon? Guwen planned to investigate the Supreme Sect at night, at least to ensure it posed no threat to his Medicine Valley. With you here, whether the intruder is a demon or not, they surely wouldn't dare touch my Medicine Valley. In the future, the Third Medicine Valley will count on your protection. Don't worry, I will personally cultivate your medicinal herbs." Guwen smiled, revealing admiration, which Lu Lingjun enjoyed. Lu Lingjun snorted, "Rest assured, unless the mountain god descends, no one can damage the Third Medicine Valley." After reaching the Mystic Heart Realm, she regained the arrogance she once had while overlooking the lower realm. She felt her path of immortal cultivation had just begun. After chatting for a while, Lu Lingjun finally revealed her true purpose. She used the reminder of the great demon in the sect as a pretext. Her real intention was to have Guwen write a book with her as the protagonist, similar to the book about the supreme immortal venerable. "You are a Mystic Heart Realm cultivator. If you desire, you could easily gain fame. Why would you need me to write?" Guwen hesitated. He didn't expect Lu Lingjun to have this hobby. Raising her eyebrows, Lu Lingjun said, "Name your price." "You're at it again. What kind of talk is that?" "When I returned from the Taichen dynasty earlier, I sensed an 8th-rank spirit tree hidden within a certain sect. If you help me write the book, I'll steal that tree afterward. If you dare to steal, I don't dare to take it. I can use a secret technique to seal the tree. Once the turmoil subsides, you can find a place to plant it." "I don't have a place to plant it. Don't pretend. You must be hiding something. Why else would you go out so often?" "Ahem, don't slander me. Writing the book is negotiable, but don't defame me, understand?" Feeling amused by Guwen's words, Lu Lingjun laughed. Yes, I won't slander you. How could you have any secrets? You are selfless and dedicated to the Supreme Sect." That's more like it. Now tell me your story so I can seek inspiration." Guwen nodded in satisfaction. Recently, with some free time, writing a book wasn't a bad idea, showcasing his calligraphy skills to the world. Lu Lingjun fell into her memories and began telling her story. One whole night passed as she spoke. At dawn, Lu Lingjun finally left Guwen's pavilion. Early morning training, Tang Yu saw this and widened his eyes, quickly averting his gaze, pretending he hadn't seen anything. The news that Lu Lingjun was an elder in the sect had already spread through the valley. Disciples kept their distance from her out of respect. Master is truly impressive, even the sect elder couldn't escape his charm. Indeed, a handsome face can bridge the gap in cultivation levels, Tang Yu thought to himself. As Lu Lingjun returned to her pavilion, Guwen overheard her conversation with the White Spirit Demon Emperor. Lu Lingjun had placed advanced restrictions on her pavilion, but they had no effect on Guwen, and their pavilions were adjacent, making it easy for him to eavesdrop. Can we really connect with other ascenders through his book? Hard to say, but it's worth a try. Pan-An's reputation has spread throughout the 9 dynasties. I can't exactly announce that I'm an ascender, can I? True, though your idea is quite good. If you can unite other ascenders and form your strength, it would greatly aid your future bid for the sect leader's position. Hearing this, Guwen put down his pen, falling into deep thought. Noon, in the outer gate city. Upon the heavenly repair platform, a white-robed man arrived at the bottom of the orthographic symbol. He marveled at the sword intent contained within, his eyes filled with astonishment. Just this sword intent alone likely makes Sword Venerable Fudao invincible in the mystic heart realm. It's uncertain if he's reached an even higher level. The white-robed man was in awe, squatting down to touch it. "Hey, don't touch randomly, or the sword intent might hurt you." A voice came from beside him. The speaker was Wang Lin. Ever since Sword Venerable Fudao used Zhuyijian's sword to kill enemies, Zhuyijian had no longer come to the heavenly repair platform, staying cooped in his room, comprehending that sword. Not even his son could disturb him. Wang Lin had no other means to comprehend Sword Venerable Fudao's sword intent and could only sit in silence at the heavenly repair platform. The white-robed man looked at Wang Lin and asked with a smile, "Brother, how long have you been at the heavenly repair platform?" Wang Lin replied, "Since these two characters came into being, I've been meditating here." "You seem new. First time here?" He eyed the white-robed man suspiciously. The heavenly repair platform was filled with many stories, leading him to overthink. The white-robed man laughed. "I come from the Qiantang dynasty. This year, I just joined the Supreme Sect as a guest elder of the Outer Sect. My joining was inspired by Sword Venerable Fudao." Hearing this, Wang Lin immediately beckoned him over, signaling him to sit beside him. The white-robed man didn't hesitate and quickly came over to sit down. Wang Lin was about to speak when he suddenly saw someone, his eyes lit up, and he called out immediately, "Guan, come over here." In the distance, Guan wandered through the crowd, appearing idle. Hearing Wang Lin's call, he hesitated for a moment but still walked towards him. The white-robed man turned his head, seeing the person Wang Lin called out to be a Foundation Establishment Realm cultivator, then shifted his attention away. Guan conducted a lifespan detection on him. Xia, Mystic Heart Realm 3rd Layer 2450/8000/19000, a demon over 2000 years old. The reason Guan came to the Outer Gate City was precisely because of Xia. The demon who alarmed Lu Lingjun was Xia. Xia cultivated some special technique, showing no traces of demon energy on him, but his technique couldn't escape the divine sense of a Nirvana Realm great cultivator. Watching Guan approach slowly, Wang Lin remarked to Xia, "Though my cultivation is low, I have an exquisite spirit heart. At a glance, I could tell you were exceptional." Hearing this, Xia's heart tensed. Chapter 155 Shattering Void. Engagements. Wang Lin's words made Xia's expression suddenly unnatural, but what Wang Lin said next left him not knowing whether to laugh or cry. "You must be a genius. I've never misjudged anyone's talent or chi fortune." Wang Lin looked smug, lifting his chin and gesturing for Xia to look at Guan, saying, "Don't be fooled by this kid's mere Foundation Establishment Realm cultivation level. He's not simple either. In fact, my judgment has proved correct. He's now a golden list genius." Guan walked over, resignedly saying, "What sort of genius am I? Making it onto the golden list was just good luck." Wang Lin pulled Guan to sit down and then had Xia and Guan introduce themselves to each other. Xia was very composed and treated Guan quite well, showing none of the airs of a guest elder. Wang Lin was very interested in Xia, and upon hearing that Xia wanted to learn about Sword Venerable Fudao, he didn't hide anything and began telling stories of Sword Venerable Fudao's exploits. Xia listened attentively. Before he came, he had heard that the #1 cultivator of the 9 dynasties was either the Daoist of Immortality from 3 Pure Ones Mountain or the Sword Venerable Fudao from Supreme Sect. Among them, Sword Venerable Fudao was the most mysterious. Though he had repeatedly aided the Supreme Sect, no one knew his true identity. Guan found it amusing to listen to Wang Lin boast about his other identity. At the same time, he was also observing Xia. In the following half an hour, Guan didn't sense any malice from Xia and could only hold back his suspicions for the time being. A great demon calamity was imminent, and a mystic heart realm great demon had infiltrated the Supreme Sect, the purpose of which was unknown. Guan feared Xia might suspect him, so he took the chance to slip away. There was plenty of time to come, and he could slowly observe Xie since Xie was planning to comprehend sword intent at the heavenly repair platform. In the days to come, Guwen would use his divine sense every day to observe Xie. The more he watched, the more he felt Xie might truly harbor no ill will. He just seemed to earnestly want to learn swordsmanship. Before, when Xie had swept the surroundings with his divine sense, he was probably just looking for sword venerable Fudao. Spring went and autumn came. 2 years passed in the blink of an eye. In these 2 years, Guan's lifespan had increased rapidly. Starmaster Cave had provided him with an enormous amount of lifespan. His lifespan had already broken through 6,500,000, getting ever closer to the 10 million mark. One day, Guan visited the book collection hall in the Outer Gate City and, under the name Pan An, published a new book titled Shattering Void. Lu Chang, the elder who had once taken care of Pan An, had passed away, and he was received by Feng Shang, the great elder of the book collection hall. Feng Shang was thrilled to receive Pan An for the first time, bombarding Guan with compliments and guaranteeing that he would handle the book's follow-up matters well. Only after an hour at the book collection hall did Guan manage to get away. Feng Shang was simply too enthusiastic. In Feng Shang's eyes, Guan was a tremendous opportunity. As long as he arranged Pan An's new book properly, his career would skyrocket. After leaving the book collection hall, Guan strolled around the city. As the Supreme Sect grew stronger each year, the Outer Gate City became very bustling. Every street was crowded, and even stalls appeared, selling all kinds of odd and remarkable items. In the last year, Guan had taken to wandering the city streets whenever he was free. As he walked, Guan spotted a familiar face. Du Yi. Guan approached to greet him. Both being house servants of the Ji family and having been accepted into the Supreme Sect together, their relationship was not close, but they would chat if they bumped into each other in the outer sect. Du Yi was fiddling with a small gourd at a stall. Hearing Guan's voice, he reluctantly set the gourd down, stood up, and looked at Guan. When Guan reached him, Du Yi greeted him with a smile, asking, "Are you here treasure hunting too?" Guan laughed and replied, "There aren't that many treasures to find. I'm just browsing and enjoying the buzz. How have you been lately?" 92-year-old Du Yi looked just over 40. He hadn't taken any youth-preserving pills when he was younger, unlike Guan, who appeared youthful. In the immortal cultivation world, not every cultivator seeks a youthful appearance. Some believe that maturity conveys more presence. Don't get me started. I attempted the foundation establishment recently and failed, wasting a foundation establishment pill in the process, Du Yi said gloomily. He was genuinely a low-level cultivator in the immortal cultivation world, of mediocre talent, who had to do odd jobs for young masters from significant families for cultivation resources. Guan consoled him, then took out a medicine bottle with 2 foundation establishment pills inside. Holding the medicine bottle, Du Yi hesitated. He didn't want to accept Guan's charity, but he couldn't bear to refuse. For a low-level cultivator like him, reaching the foundation establishment was a lifelong dream. Guan smiled and said, "Don't mention it. After all, we grew up together. I hope you live a few more decades. When we're old, we can reminisce about our youth." Hearing this, Du Yi felt a warm sensation and remembered that he had once told Guan to seek his help if he ever encountered any troubles. If there was any way he could help, he wouldn't hesitate. Half a lifetime later, Guan had never sought his help. Instead, Du Yi began to owe Guan favors. Du Yi lightly patted Guan's shoulder, no longer refusing. He put the medicine bottle into his storage bag. "By the way, I heard something recently. Our third miss has been betrothed," Du Yi suddenly said in a low voice. Hearing this, Guan was stunned and asked with curiosity, "Betrothed? To?" Hearing of Ji Xiaoyu's engagement, his heart couldn't help but ripple. Perhaps it was because Ji Xiaoyu had once saved him as a child. Even after growing up, Ji Xiaoyu had been kind to him, not treating him like a house servant and giving him many things to help with his cultivation. Could even such a girl of heavenly pride not escape an arranged marriage? Thinking of this, Guan felt quite emotional. Du Yi shook his head and said, "How would I know? But it seems that only the engagement is set, there's no date for the wedding yet." I think the young master and the others are very happy, so the other party must be quite significant. That's a given. Being able to marry into the Ji family is beyond our imagination, Guwen said with a laugh. The two of them chatted for a bit more, and then Guwen bid farewell to Duyi. He didn't go back to Medicine Valley but continued to wander around the city. The book collection hall acted quickly, and in less than a month, Shattering Void appeared in the book collection halls of various cities. Riding on the reputation accumulated from investiture of the gods and supreme immortal venerable, Pan An's new book caused a sensation as soon as it hit the shelves, sweeping through the supreme sect. A month later, the name Shattering Void had spread throughout the Taizong Immortal cultivation world and started reaching the other 8 dynasties. Lu Lingjun also bought the book, and as soon as she finished reading, she went straight to Guwen. It's written quite well. The male protagonist harbors a great demon inside him that leads the way on his journey of immortal cultivation despite his mediocre talent. But, Lu Lingjun frowned as she spoke. What but? Asked Guwen. Why is it called Shattering Void? She stared intently at Guwen, as if trying to see through him. Guwen responded with a puzzled look. Didn't you say that ascending is your pursuit in your homeland? Doesn't Shattering Void appeal to you? Hearing this, Lu Lingjun couldn't help but nod, saying, Indeed, it's very appealing. Then you should continue writing it well. She mocked herself internally. How could this kid have guessed that she was an ascender? Then they started discussing the book Shattering Void, and Lu Lingjun made many demands. Guwen wasn't agreeable at first, but when she brought out a pile of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, he changed his tune, saying he would consider it. Lu Lingjun was amused by his greed. After Lu Lingjun left, he took out Daoist Xuanxuan and started to read. Shattering Void was only written because someone asked for it, but the classics that are truly worth appreciating are in Daoist Xuanxuan. With the release of Pan An's book, the servant disciples of Mystic Valley and the Third Medicine Valley also began discussing it, and Pan An's name proved to be more influential than Guwen had imagined. Half a month later, when Guwen returned to the Third Medicine Valley, he sensed L.V. Baishan's presence. Counting the days, it had been more than 10 years since he last saw him. Guwen went to the attic to meet with the long-waiting L.V. Baishan. He closed the door of the room and then approached L.V. Baishan, raising his hand in salute. L.V. Baishan looked the same as he had many years ago. He gestured for Guwen to sit down. After Guwen took his seat, L.V. Baishan finally asked, What made you think of publishing a book recently? It was a spur-of-the-moment thing. Did you read it too? Replied Guwen. I did. It's not as good as Investiture. That's true, Guwen said sincerely. He believed that himself. L.V. Baishan changed the subject abruptly. Is Su Han your disciple? Upon hearing this, Guwen feigned nervousness and asked, He used to be. What about him? L.V. Baishan stared at Guwen and said, He has also cultivated the defying fate divine skill. What? Guwen was visibly shocked. He hastened to explain, I didn't teach it to him. Over these years, I haven't even seen him. Since L.V. Baishan had passed the defying fate divine skill to Guwen, he had barely practiced it because he couldn't abandon his cultivation to start over. L.V. Baishan snorted and said, Of course, I know you didn't pass it on. As a matter of fact, I didn't create the defying fate divine skill either. I also received it from someone else. I can tell you directly that defying fate divine skill comes from the ephemera sect. Now that Su Han has also learned it, it indicates that the remnants of the ephemera sect have not been completely eradicated. Guwen's eyes widened, displaying a look of disbelief. He thought of the 9 Nether 13 evil and the ghost mother of ephemera. Could it be that they had approached Su Han? Sect leader, Guwen looked at L.V. Baishan, unsure of what to say, a mix of emotions crossing his face. He really wanted to say, I also have an identity concerning the ephemera sect. I am the sect hierarch of the ephemera sect. L.V. Baishan chuckled, Don't worry. I just have karma with the ephemera sect. I don't actually come from there. In my youth, I made a Daoist friend who was from the ephemera sect. Before she died, she passed the defying fate divine skill on to me. It is because of this skill that I could achieve what I have. Don't talk about this past to anyone. If you do, I surely won't be able to hold onto my position as sect leader. Ever since the Supreme Elders returned, my position has become increasingly unstable. He concluded with a self-deprecating laugh. Guwen immediately responded, "Of course, I won't speak of it as long as you don't harm the interests of the Supreme Sect." LV Bayan glared at him, feigning annoyance, but he was inwardly very pleased. He's truly worthy of being the sect leader I picked. Following that, LV Bayan said, Su Han has learned the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword and inherited the Defying Fate Divine skill. His progress will be rapid from now on. How close are you with him? If you're close, be cautious. It's clear that Su Han has a mastermind behind him. I'm afraid that person will come after you to make Su Han hate this world even more. Chapter 156 Innate Divine Skills Persecuting Me? Guwen almost laughed. Whoever wanted to persecute him must have had a death wish. With his ability to foresee potential threats, he could detect anyone who harbored hostility towards his true self at the first moment. At least for now, no one bore him ill will. Guwen usually acted kindly towards others, making it hard for anyone to hold a grudge against him. Apart from the Supreme Sect, not many people knew him. Faced with LV Baishan's scrutiny, Guwen frowned and pondered, I can't say for sure. I treated him quite well, but back when the Sword Sect was hunting him down, I advised him to abandon the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword. Maybe he holds some resentment towards me because of that. LV Bayan nodded and said, having some resentment is good. At least you won't become his weak point. But you should still pray he doesn't hate you. Otherwise, if he grows stronger, you'll be in trouble. His tone became teasing towards the end. Guwen shrugged and said, I believe the Supreme Sect will protect me. If I encounter danger here, then there must be a serious issue with the Supreme Sect. You cheeky brat, you're mocking me, aren't you? Not at all. I trust you, sect leader, so please don't make fun of me. As a minor cultivator, I don't want to get involved in bigger troubles. Nothing to do with the Ephemera Sect or the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword, I'd prefer it that way. Guwen said helplessly. Seeing his expression, LV Bayan suddenly felt ashamed, thinking he shouldn't have teased him. Guwen didn't possess the cultivation level of the Unification Realm's 9th layer. Facing the threat of the Hateful Heaven Divine Sword, he must have been very afraid, but was just putting up a brave front. With that thought, LV Baishan's face turned serious, and he said, as long as you stay within the Supreme Sect, nothing will happen to you. At least here, I can ensure your safety. Obviously, he was hinting at Guwen about going to Tianya Valley. Although LV Bayan didn't know where Tianya Valley was, he knew that Guwen frequently left Mystic Valley, but he never asked about it. LV Bayan started talking about Li Xiandao. The Taizong dynasty's offensive was swift and fierce, opening no fewer than 5 battlefields in collaboration with the Great Yu dynasty. The neighboring dynasty was about to collapse. LV Bayan indeed didn't like Li Xiandao, but he had to admit that Li Xiandao was very skilled in employing people, always managing to find geniuses or capable generals. From Gu An's point of view, he hoped Li Xiandao could unify the 9 dynasties. Unity would better resist the demon disaster. After unification, order could be established, and the world would be peaceful for the right path. Peace in the world would also help him survive. For the lower-level cultivators, peace was also a good thing. There might be fewer opportunities, but how many lower-level cultivators could turn their fate with an opportunity? Cultivators who turned their fate with opportunities were far fewer than those who died in conflicts. The two talked for a long time, until evening, before LV Bayan finally left. Guwen couldn't help but feel that LV Bayan had lost some of his sharpness from years ago. Starmaster Cave. Guwen, masked, appeared on a cliff, his divine sense sweeping over to see and how staying in a cave. Inside the cave was a pool filled with blood-colored water, wherein Hao was practicing, his chi blood continually increasing. Si Yenner was in the forest, practicing her step technique. After spending 2 years in this grotto heaven, both Hao and Si Yenner had received various inheritances, rapidly improving their skills. It would take many years for them to fully inherit Daoist Starmaster's legacy. After all, Daoist Star Master was in the Mahayana realm, and his lifetime legacy was extremely vast. Even though An Hao had matchless talent, it would take a lot of time to absorb it all. Gu En just glanced at them, then went to pick the celestial treasures in the forest. His aura was hidden, unnoticed by the spirit beasts within the grotto heaven. These Unification Realm spirit beasts were very gentle and had formed good relations with An Hao and Xianxia, but to avoid unnecessary trouble, Gu En still acted quietly. After an hour, Gu En left, satisfied. This trip had gained him 50,000 years of lifespan. Since no one cultivated the treasures in Starmaster Cave, Gu En also didn't want to do so, fearing that people from the Seven Stars spirit realm might come after him. He could only patiently wait for the celestial treasures in this grotto heaven to grow naturally. That's why he picked only a small amount every time, leaving half behind to self-reproduce. He quickly arrived at Xianxia Cave. One night last month, with Gu En's protection, Tian Yaoer successfully crossed her tribulation and entered the core formation realm. She had been consolidating her cultivation ever since. Landing on the ground, Gu En sensed that her demonic power had stabilized, which indicated that she had consolidated her cultivation. He deliberately made footsteps as he walked towards a garden area. Tian Yaoer pushed the door open and, like a gust of wind, came to Gu En's side, directly hugging his left arm, excitedly saying, "Master, my demon core has fully formed, and I've even comprehended a divine skill." Feeling the softness from his left arm, Gu En marveled internally. A demon was indeed a demon. She appeared very slim, yet her figure was astonishing. He naturally withdrew his arm and walked a few steps forward, squatting down to pick medicinal herbs, while asking, "What kind of divine skill?" Tian Yaoer came to his side, bending at the waist, hands on her knees, and smiled sweetly, "A transformation divine skill. I'm very powerful now." As soon as she finished speaking, a wave of demon energy spread from her body, covering her figure. Gu En turned his head to look. As the demon energy dissipated, Tian Yaoer had transformed into his exact image, her aura indistinguishable from his, with no trace of demon energy. This surprised him. This divine skill was not bad. Gu En placed the harvested medicinal herbs into his storage bag, stood up, and curiously asked, "Can you teach me this divine skill?" Tian Yaoer shook her head and said, "I wish I could, but there's no mental method or incantation for it. This divine skill seems to come naturally to me, like speaking. It's very easy for me to use, but I don't know how to teach it." She transformed back into her previous appearance, demon energy swirling, and clutched Gu En's mask. Gu En took a step back, and Tian Yaoer, in red, placed her hands on her hips and laughed proudly, "Master, how is it? Isn't my divine skill amazing?" Her bright eyes turned into two crescent moons with joy, making Gu En unable to resist reaching out to pat her head, ruffling her hair. After praising Tian Yaoer a few times, Gu En had her return to her cultivation. Gu En rarely visited, so Tian Yaoer didn't want to cultivate and instead stayed by his side, chattering incessantly about trivial matters, like a crooked flower or bumping into a tree while practicing the limitless freedom step. She could only stay in Xianxia Cave, with no contact with other demon creatures, so if it were Gu En he wouldn't have so much to talk about. Gu En didn't get annoyed. On the contrary, he listened attentively, occasionally responding, which made Tian Yaoer even happier. For a long while, Tian Yaoer followed Gu En to a stone table, where he took out bottles of elixirs for her cultivation, instructing her on how to take them. "Once you master the limitless freedom step, I can take you out for a walk." Gu En looked at Tian Yaoer and said seriously. Having stayed in Xianxia Cave for so many years, Tian Yaoer never requested to go out. Her attitude towards the medicinal herbs was very serious too. At least Gu En couldn't find any fault in her. Gu En had already accepted Tian Yaoer, no longer seeing her as a mere demon slave. Tian Yaoer wasn't too excited. Instead, she pouted and said, "The limitless freedom step is too hard. Who knows how many years I'll need to master it?" Even the Heaven Phoenix Demon Mother didn't achieve her power in just a few decades. The strong beings in this world have all endured long, lonely years before they could act as they pleased. Gu En said earnestly, Tian Yaoer nodded and said, I understand, I'll definitely work hard in my cultivation. Guwen noticed that she no longer kept talking about revenge. He wondered if she kept it in her heart or had given up on the idea. He didn't leave immediately but sat down and started explaining the primordial earth immortal skill to Tian Yaoer. The core formation was just the beginning. Tian Yaoer still had a long way to go. If he could nurture a peerless great demon, Guwen would certainly feel a sense of accomplishment. Tian Yaoer's ultimate lifespan was 18,000 years, meaning she would be with Guwen for the longest time. Perhaps to avoid loneliness in the future, Guwen's teachings to Tian Yaoer were no less than his instructions to Enhao. Dark clouds covered the sky, the mountainous terrain undulated unevenly, and as far as the eye could see, the hills and valleys were sparse with vegetation. Most of the trees were withered, stripped of their leaves. Desolate, silent. Two figures walked through the mountains, one of them being Guwen's disciple Su Han. After decades, Su Han had undergone a complete transformation. He wore black, carried a bone sword, and had a red string tied around his forehead and knotted at the back, casually binding his black hair. His eyebrows exuded malevolence, with a cold, indifferent gaze. Ahead of Su Han walked a frail old man, turning back repeatedly with obsequious smiles. Sir, up ahead is the habitat of the holy beast sky dragon. Although this sky dragon is under 100 years old, it has a peculiar temper, so you must be careful. The frail old man warned. Su Han looked forward, where amidst the darkness, a massive mountain faintly appeared, intermittently echoing with shrill cries, making the place daunting and terrifying. He ordered, You go attract it first, I'll follow soon. The frail old man's face turned pale upon hearing this, quickly waving his hands. With my cultivation level, I'm afraid. Su Han's eyes turned cold, making the old man shiver, and he hastily agreed, flying ahead and quickly disappearing into the darkness. Not long after, a dragon roar erupted from ahead, shaking the heavens and earth. Su Han then took down the bone sword from his back, with terrifying black energy seeping from his orifices, making him appear as if possessed by a demon. Who dares trespass the forbidden grounds of the ancient sky sect? A furious, elderly shout came, and a gray-robed burly man suddenly flew over the mountain peak, attacking Su Han. Su Han, with his back to him, did not turn around. He continued walking forward with his sword. At that moment, a ghostly figure appeared behind him, swinging its palm to gather terrifying ghost energy into a massive black wing. The gray-robed burly man's face changed drastically, using his spiritual power to resist, but he was still sent flying by the attack. I advise you to pretend you saw nothing, or it would be a pity if you were to die. An icy female voice came from the mysterious ghostly figure. If Guwen were here, he would definitely recognize the voice. Ghost Mother of Ephemera. Chapter 157 Different Paths, Downfall late at night, deep underground in the Mystic Valley, inside the 8 scenic caves. Guwen was sitting under a green vine tree reading a book, leaning against the main trunk, with 2 tree vines gently massaging his shoulders. He suddenly put down the book and sat up straight. What's wrong? Master, was the pressure too much? The green vine tree emitted a weak, pitiful female voice. Guwen replied, No, I just have something to attend to. I need to leave. The green vine tree trembled, quickly saying, Master, don't forget to bring some lamb meat next time. Guwen waved his hand and then disappeared from the spot. He took a step out of the Supreme Sect's boundaries and arrived at the top of a mountain. It was late autumn, the night wind was chilly, fluttering his robe. He gazed into the distance. He felt that the sky dragon was in trouble. Although he and the sky dragon hadn't formed a contract, ever since the sky dragon was born, they established a subtle connection. This connection was similar to the feeling when Sage Xian Miao summoned him. He extended his divine sense along this subtle connection. Soon he locked onto a certain sect. His divine sense pierced through layers of restrictions and entered a minor heaven and earth similar to the Starmaster Cave. The Ghost Mother of Ephemera and the 9 Nether 13 Evil. These guys were fighting with great cultivators of the ancient sky sect. Gu and his divine sense locked onto the sky dragon, his expression becoming strange. The person fighting with the sky dragon was surprisingly Su Han. Su Han's aura had already approached the nascent soul realm, but his aura was very chaotic, giving the impression that he could deviate at any moment. The sky dragon, although lazy and not much of a cultivator, relied on its powerful bloodline talent. Su Han couldn't take it down quickly. The 20 Zhanglong sky dragon twisted its body, occasionally spewing scorching flames. Su Han's figure was ghostly, skillfully dodging, and occasionally swinging his sword, sending sword chi slashing at the sky dragon, causing its dragon blood to splatter continuously. In his other hand, Su Han held a cloth bag, collecting the sky dragon's blood. After a moment of hesitation, Guwen decided to intervene. In the dim heavens and earth, the sky dragon was fleeing through the mountains and wilds, with Su Han wielding a bone sword, relentlessly pursuing. Damn it! For you really? I will never forgive you in the future. The sky dragon roared, shaking the mountain forests, its voice still childish, like that of a young boy. Su Han's cold voice came from behind. Hateful heaven divine sword, Su Han. The sky dragon's eyes narrowed, clearly having heard of the hateful heaven divine sword, showing fear in its eyes. It ran even faster, twisting its body like an eel. In Su Han's eyes, he wasn't committing evil, but merely striving to become stronger. Guwen didn't personally eliminate Su Han because he had not heard of Su Han slaughtering innocent civilians. Those who died at Su Han's hands were indeed many, but they were all people with grudges against him. Most of them wanted to remove the hateful heaven divine sword but were instead killed by him. The hateful heaven divine sword was Su Han's ancestral swordsmanship, so he and Guwen were not true master and disciple. Guwen merely provided him with some elixirs. Past ties of master and disciple had been severed. Su Han's life or death was no longer related to Guwen. Guwen mainly wanted to see Su Han's fate. Su Han, who had mastered the defying fate divine skill, could devour the spiritual power of other cultivators. To some extent, it was similar to Guwen's ability to seize lifespan. But Su Han's path was completely different from Guwen's. Wherever this young man went, he fought, and his fierce reputation spread far and wide. The ghost mother of ephemera revealed the effects of the defying fate divine skill, which were exactly the same as those known to Guwen, with no exaggeration. From the ghost mother of ephemera's perspective, she naturally didn't know Sword Venerable Fudao knew the defying fate divine skill, so she spoke frankly. Perhaps she genuinely wanted to make Gu and the sect hierarch of the ephemera sect. In the land we come from, the ephemera sect has stood for tens of thousands of years. The spiritual energy there far surpasses that of the 9 dynasties. Although the ephemera sect has been destroyed by the mountain god, it was the traitors who defected to butcher Immortal Jing who were wiped out. Our sect's orthodox disciples still remain. If you return with me, in at most 1,000 years, the ephemera sect can restore its former glory. The ghost mother of ephemera said earnestly. Guwen asked, "Is it just because I know the Taitsong divine shocking sword? Aren't you afraid it'll sacrifice you all, like the actions of the ephemera sect?" Knowing the Taitsong divine shocking sword is one reason. I have stayed in the Supreme Sect for many years and learned about your deeds. Your ability to inscribe the words righteous path on the heavenly repair platform speaks to your character. If you are willing to lead the ephemera sect, you can certainly guide it towards the right path. The ephemera tree may be an evil entity, but the ephemera sect was originally founded by subduing this tree to save lives and thus established its Daoist tradition. As she spoke, she raised her right hand, and a token appeared in her hand. This is the token of the sect hierarch of the ephemera sect. The deceased hierarch had always been searching for this token, not knowing it was in my possession. This token can find all members of the ephemera sect and locate the hidden inheritance of true disciples. Guwen extended his hand, his divine sense entering the token. He sensed a powerful restriction, which could not be broken by anyone below the Mahayana realm. Of course, This restriction was formidable to others, but it was as if non-existent before him. As his divine sense entered the token, he felt as if he was overlooking the land. He saw a chaotic, dim world with only landforms, no flowers or living beings. Through the scenes within the token, he could see the positions of other ephemera sect cultivators. Apart from this, the token had many other functions with numerous restrictions that intrigued Guan. He retracted his divine sense and said, "I'll temporarily hold onto this token. In the future, treat the token as though it's me." Upon hearing this, the ghost mother of ephemera was overjoyed and quickly bowed to thank Guan and then disappeared from the spot. The ghost mother of ephemera immediately stood up and left with Su Han. As for the distant sky dragon, she dared not touch it again. Late autumn in the Mystic Valley. Guan watched his disciples sweep away the fallen leaves in various gardens while his divine sense was focused on the distance, observing the decisive battle between the Taizong dynasty and the Hanlu dynasty. LV Xian and Wu Ju were also participating, showcasing their prowess. They were already close to reaching the Hanlu dynasty's imperial city. Guan's focus was mainly on Yi Yan. Yi Yan was also from the Mystic Valley and had been guided in spear techniques and body tempering methods by Luo Hun and Zhou Tongyu. After building his foundation, he joined the army. Decades had passed. Yi Yan was now a general of the Taizong dynasty with illustrious military achievements. Although not yet in the core formation realm, his strength on the battlefield was formidable. After all, most soldiers were below the core formation realm. Those who reached it typically transcended the dynasty's constraints, seeking their own immortal path. Watching the battlefield, Guan felt like he was witnessing the investiture of the gods. Both sides had sex cultivators charging into battle, casting spells. The losing side would be overwhelmed by the army, retreating step by step. Just as he was engrossed, Zhen Qin flew over on her sword and landed beside Guan. She whispered, "Master, senior brother Su Han has been wanted by the ancient sky sect." Guan nonchalantly said, "I've told you, he's not your senior brother." Zhen Qin pouted, "He might not be my senior brother to outsiders, but we grew up together. How can I completely sever ties with him? Telling me won't help. What can I do?" "Master, I'm just feeling anxious and wanted to talk to you." Zhen Qin glared at him. Guan glanced at her, smiling, "Don't worry about him. He's survived many years of being hunted. Instead of worrying about him, you should worry about yourself. You seem to encounter more danger than him." He referred to the time Zhen Qin was saved by sage Xian Miao from the law enforcement hall disciples. Although she didn't mention the existence of the mountain god, Yi Lan knew about her perilous experience and had informed Guan. Just as Zhen Qin was about to retort, she suddenly sensed something and took out her disciple token from her storage bag. Guan did the same, taking out his Valley Master token and inserted his divine sense. Immediately, he heard the voice of Guzong. Supreme Elder Kusong investigated the demon land and unfortunately perished. In 3 days, all disciples must gather in the affiliated city to pay respect to the ancestor. Chapter 158. Jiang Qiong returns, a hand in the night ancestor Kusong died? Guan heard Guzong's words and felt a bit dazed. Although he wasn't very close friends with ancestor Kusong, they had pleasant conversations whenever they were at the inner sect book collection hall. Hearing the news of ancestor Kusong's demise gave him an indescribable feeling. The Supreme Elder has fallen. If I recall correctly, ancestor Kusong was at the Mystic Heart Realm, right? Zhen Qin frowned and said, "When the ephemera sect attacked back then, ancestor Kusong fought against Venerable Qi Qian, spreading his Dao name throughout the Supreme Sect. He had become the second most renowned great cultivator in the Supreme Sect, only next to Sword Venerable Fu Dao." Even Zhen Qin, who had no interaction with ancestor Kusong, felt sad upon hearing his demise. Guan looked up to the sky. He saw dark clouds, indicating that a storm was about to come. Ancestor Kusong's death shocked the entire Supreme Sect, and the news quickly spread through the immortal cultivation world. 3 days later, Guan arrived at Intersect City as scheduled to attend Ancestor Quzong's memorial service. Tens of thousands of disciples in the city mourned. Listening to the sect elders recount Ancestor Quzong's life achievements, even newly inducted disciples felt sorrow. After recounting Ancestor Quzong's life, the Supreme Sect also disclosed for the first time the impending great calamity of demons that would erupt decades later, causing an uproar among the cities. In the days that followed, various sects under the Taizong dynasty also announced this matter. The peace of the immortal cultivation world was once again shattered, and all cultivators felt a sense of crisis. A mystic heart realm cultivator has already fallen. This calamity is far more terrifying than the previous ephemeris sect turmoil. Autumn faded into winter. Winter's snow gradually covered Mystic Valley. On this day, Guan waited early at the Mystic Valley Pavilion because he felt a familiar aura approaching. Late at night, a figure appeared outside Guan's window. Guan went to open the window and let the visitor in. It was a white-robed woman wearing a bamboo hat. After entering, she took off the hat and looked back at Guan, who was setting up a restriction. She smiled and asked, "Did you miss me, obedient disciple?" After finishing the restriction, Guan turned around and curiously asked, "Where have you been all these years? Are you all right?" He cast a lifespan detection spell on Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong, Nascent Soul Realm Level 6 243/700/5490 5,490 years of maximum lifespan. Guan remembered that Jiang Qiong's maximum lifespan was around 2,400 years. It seems there were great opportunities on the Nine Nether Road. Back in the 8 scenic caves, Jiang Qiong sensed the spiritual energy was denser than before, making her very pleased with Guan. "Disciple, the Thousand Autumn Pavilion has disbanded, and my kin have all perished. From now on, I will depend on you. You won't mind, will you?" Jiang Qiong rested her hand on Guan's shoulder with a smile. Guan stepped to the side and said, "Why would I mind? I even want to learn formations from you." He then went to the green vine tree and dug out the divine power collection of the Ji family, handing it to Jiang Qiong. Jiang Qiong had robbed this item during a banquet at the Ji family. It recorded the Heaven and Earth Path Gang divine skills. Guan had already mastered the Heaven and Earth Path Gang and upgraded it to Daoist Gang Primal Energy. Now, even if caught off guard, it would be hard for enemies of the same rank to kill him instantly. The Daoist Gang Primal Energy could autonomously protect his body. Looking at the divine power collection in her hands, Jiang Qiong felt mixed emotions. For some reason, her mood was quite complicated. Seeing her expression, Guan felt uneasy. "Don't tell me she's moved?" He immediately found an excuse and left. Watching his departing figure, Jiang Qiong sighed and thought, "This kid is really foolish." He didn't even research it thoroughly. She could sense that the restriction on the divine power collection was intact, so she assumed Guan hadn't touched it. Such foolishness would surely lead to trouble someday. She needed to teach him. Jiang Qiong's return didn't change Guan's life. Every 7 days, he would visit the 8 scenic caves, bringing along various medicinal herbs for her, asking her not to pick any, leaving that task to him. Jiang Qiong, aware of his habits, behaved accordingly upon returning to the 8 scenic caves. Since Guan had prepared the herbs, why should she bother? Due to Ancestor Quzong's death, the atmosphere in the Supreme Sect was colder than in previous winters. At the year's end, a major event occurred. The Hanlu dynasty surrendered. Thus, the Taizong dynasty annexed the Hanlu dynasty, breaking the millennial 9 dynasty balance. Li Xuando's prestige soared, with even the outer sect of the Supreme Sect discussing him. If he truly united the world, his name would be engraved in history. Guan heard in the outer sect that Li Xiandao had begun deploying troops against the Wuxian dynasty. This time, there were no public objections, but rather praises for Li Xiandao. Rumor had it that the Tianwei dynasty in the distant land also waged war, with the current emperor harboring ambitions no less than Li Xuando's. Significantly, Ancestor Xingyan's death hadn't spread, and Tianwei made no inquiries with the Supreme Sect about Xizong's death, clearly determined to swallow this loss. These matters were irrelevant to Guan. He simply listened for entertainment. With the new year, Yi Lan and Zhen Qin came to spend the festival with Guan. Guan divided the spirit juice given by Jiang Qiong into 3 portions, giving them to Yi Lan, Zhen Qin, and Xiaochuan individually, asking them not to tell anyone. Right after the Spring Festival, the Supreme Sect began recruiting disciples to explore the demon land. Facing the inevitable calamity, the Supreme Sect didn't want to sit idle, so they offered generous rewards to attract disciples for reconnaissance. Some disciples nearing their lives' end or faced with cultivation obstacles eagerly applied, but Guan instructed Yi Lan and Zhen Qin not to participate. Thankfully they listened. In the following years, news about demons frequently reached the Supreme Sect. Demons increased across the 9 dynasties, clearly a precursor to the demon calamity. Time flew like a white steed's shadow passing a crevice. 2 years later, during late autumn, in a mountain forest under the night sky, Di Xie walked. He stopped as black crows flew out from the darkness ahead. These crows swept past Di Xie, settled on a large tree behind him, and coalesced into a figure, dark and eerie, with no clear features. "The Emperor is looking for you. Won't you return?" the mysterious figure asked. "Isn't the southward movement inevitable?" Di Xie's tone was full of sarcasm. "Why do you resist the Emperor's plan?" the mysterious figure asked in a deep voice. Di Xie mocked, "This world isn't big enough? Even in the demon lands, there are countless hills beyond his control. Why push humanity to extinction?" The mysterious figure snorted, "Demons and humans cannot coexist. Eradicating humans is the only way to ensure our safety. But humans exist overseas. When will the killing end? I think he's been influenced by the Demon Master. Don't speak ill of the Demon Master. Anyway, I want return. I'll train at the Supreme Sect. Don't seek me out again. If Sword Venerable Fudao discovers you, even if you die, I won't lift a finger." With these words, Di Xie left. The mysterious figure coldly said, "Sword Venerable Fudao? Ancestor Kusong of the Supreme Sect died by my hand. If I encounter Sword Venerable Fudao, I'll ensure he meets the same fate, boiled into broth." Di Xie continued without turning back and disappeared into the darkness. The mysterious figure snorted, then transformed into black crows and flew north. The crows flew swiftly, leaving the Taizong dynasty behind in no time. An hour later, they flew over the North Sea mountain and arrived at the forest of the Taichin dynasty. The crows landed by a small river, reformed into a figure. This time, he showed his true form, a crow-headed humanoid covered in black feathers, wings folding back as he squatted and plunged his hands into the river water. The night was chilly, and the river's surface glimmered. A hand suddenly pressed on his shoulder, freezing his expression. Chapter 159 Demon Clan's Momentum. Daoist Lord. Since ancestor Kusong perished, with the demon calamity approaching, Guan used his divine sense every night to inspect the lands of the 9 dynasties, to prevent enemies from sneaking in. That night, he happened to see Di Xie leaving the Supreme Sect, so he used his divine sense to follow, and then saw Di Xie meeting a demon. When Guan heard the demon say it was he who killed ancestor Kusong, Guan was filled with killing intent. He must avenge ancestor Kusong. After all, ancestor Kusong counted as an ancient friend of Guan. He didn't make a move directly but waited until the demon left the Taizong dynasty before acting. The Black Crow demon envoy stopped by the riverside, intending to rest and infuse his demonic power into the river, marking this land through the water. Before his demonic power could probe into the river, a hand fell on his shoulder. He had never experienced such a thing. Even in the demon land, no demon could approach him silently. He instinctively wanted to evade, but an unimaginable pressure pinned him down, rendering him immobile. Terror showed on his crow-like face. He glanced sideways, barely seeing a shadowy figure. Guan originally wanted to mock him, but seeing he was already scared half to death, it felt pointless. He then used his divine sense to assault his soul. Soul-capturing skill. The night was silent, with only the faint sound of flowing river water echoing. The moon set, the sun rose, The brilliant sun climbed from behind the eastern mountains, its rays piercing the sky, shining on Guwen and the Black Crow Demon. Under the sunlight, Guwen, exhibiting his 9 extremes yin-yang body, appeared ghostly, while the Black Crow Demon in front of him had turned white-eyed, his body twitching slightly. After 2 full hours, Guwen retracted his divine sense, then removed the storage bag and storage ring from the Black Crow Demon, and used Tai-Ching True Fire to burn his flesh body. A few heartbeats later, the Black Crow Demon perished, his soul disintegrated, leaving only the demon core and mystic heart, which Guwen collected into his storage bag. You successfully seized 380 years of lifespan from the Black Crow Demon Envoy, 8th layer of Mystic Heart Realm. Guwen then disappeared from the scene. At noon, in the 3rd Medicine Valley, Guwen walked down from the transmission array platform, heading towards the distant gardens. Along the way, the servant disciples he encountered greeted him warmly and saluted him. Now, the number of servant disciples in the 3rd Medicine Valley had reached 400. Guwen did not overly covet natural treasures, and together with earnest planting, the production of medicinal herbs in the 3rd Medicine Valley was very impressive. Even compared to the inner sect's Medicine Valley, the 3rd Medicine Valley's harvest handed over to the sect each year ranked in the top 3. Thanks to this achievement, the sect was increasingly satisfied with him, continuously assigning more servant disciples. Along the way, Guwen spotted an Exen who was sweeping the ground. He immediately waved his hand, beckoning her to come over. Upon seeing this, an Exen quickly walked over and saluted upon reaching him. Having stayed in the 3rd Medicine Valley for so many years, an Exen had successfully entered the Foundation Establishment realm, thanks to the elixirs secretly given by Guwen. She was very grateful to Guwen. Back then, both an Hao and an Exen apprenticed under Guwen simultaneously for cultivation. Now, an Hao had reached the 3rd layer of the nascent soul realm, while an Exen was only at the 1st layer of the Foundation Establishment realm. Even Guwen couldn't help but sigh at the unfairness of the heavens. "Accompany me for a walk," Guwen said. An Exen naturally had no objections and followed him step by step. During the harvest, Guwen occasionally explained to her how to cultivate high-rank medicinal herbs, and she listened attentively. Nowadays, she was also very interested in medicinal herb cultivation. After about an hour, Guwen took out a secret book and handed it to an Exen. "This skill can hopefully enhance your aptitude. Don't let anyone discover it," Guwen whispered, then glanced warily into the distance. Receiving the secret book, an Exen immediately beamed and said, "Thank you, Master." After so many years, she had completely trusted Guwen, referring to him as Master, just like other servant disciples, but differently compared to others. In her heart, Guwen had become her true master, second only to the mysterious master who once saved her. Guwen patted her head, gesturing for her to continue her work. An Exen immediately saluted and turned to leave. Watching her back, Guwen wore a smile on his face. He hoped that the primordial reincarnation skill could help an Exen. Even if it didn't transform her, just letting her live a few more years would be a good thing. Life in the 3rd Medicine Valley was not dull. Guwen had already built a book collection hall, a tavern, and even bought some equipment for the loft area for the disciples to enjoy. He also created chess, which became popular in the 3rd Medicine Valley. After that, Guwen flew towards the inner sect city, having just avenged Ancestor Kusong. He wanted to chat with Elder Su Lu of the inner sect's book collection hall. Of course, he wouldn't tell Su Lu what happened this morning. He simply wanted to talk with Su Lu. He saw the tragic end of Ancestor Kusong in the memories of the Black Crow Demon Envoy, which made him feel depressed. At Heavenly Phoenix Mountain, in Yanchu Cave, Tian Yaoa was curiously watching Guwen plant a tree. The tree was already 2 zhang tall, its leaves crimson, with long vines growing from it, making it look like a tree ablaze with flames. This was a 7th-tier spirit tree, the sun-nurturing tree, which Guwen had moved from the Starmaster Cave. It was considered a sapling, for the sun-nurturing trees in the Starmaster Cave were 1,000 zhang tall, bearing sun-nurturing fruits that could enhance qi and blood, and even the perception of fire-attributed spiritual energy. After finishing the planting, Guwen satisfactorily inspected the sun-nurturing tree. He turned and patted Tianyao's forehead, snapping her out of her daze. "Come, I'll teach you a demon spell." Upon hearing Guwen's words, Tianyao immediately became excited and hurriedly followed him. Guwen had obtained many spells and cultivation techniques from the memories of the Black Crow Demon Envoy. He intended to teach Tianyao the Black Crow Demon Envoy's spell to transform into a flock of black crows. It had to be said, Tianyao's aptitude and comprehension were very high. After an hour, she could already transform into several fire crows. That's right, fire crows, not black crows. Flame-imbued crows made Guwen suspect even more that she had the phoenix bloodline. The most important aspect of this spell was not the transformation, but the flight speed. Tianyao would need to spend a lot of time to master it fully. Watching her practice the spell, Guwen's thoughts wandered. Demon emperors, demon masters, 72 routes of great demon kings, and the soon-to-be-revived demon ancestor. Even Guwen, who had reached the 9th layer of the Nirvana realm, felt the pressure. The lowest cultivation level of the 72 routes of great demon kings was the mystic heart realm, with the top 3 great demon kings having stepped into the Mahayana realm. This was why the Ephemera sect did not dare to set foot in the demon land. And the reason the demon clan did not head south was not out of fear of the 9 dynasties but rather waiting for the revival of the demon ancestor, who would need a large amount of flesh and blood to restore his body. The people of the 9 dynasties were the food designated by the demon emperor. Of course, there were also mysterious great cultivators protecting the 9 dynasties. 2,000 years ago, a mysterious Mahayana cultivator heavily injured the demon emperor during his southern invasion, nearly causing his death. However, that great cultivator had already headed south across the sea, a fact discovered by the Black Crow Demon Envoy's subordinates, who then informed the demon emperor. That great cultivator came from the great Jiang dynasty's Xianxia sect, known as the Daoist Lord. Whether he was still alive after 2,000 years remained unknown. The great Jiang dynasty was the strongest dynasty among the 9. Although the world was now in chaos, the great Jiang dynasty remained stable, and the Xianxia sect solidified its position as the leading faction in the world by opposing the Ephemera sect. The demon land was vast and boundless. Besides the openly acknowledged great demon kings, who knew what else was hidden there? This made Guwen more eager to reach a lifespan of 10 million years. If possible, he didn't want to escape. He wished to continue living on this land with the supreme sect. The death of the Black Crow Demon Envoy did not cause any impact. Xia still spent his days at the heavenly repair platform comprehending sword intent. However, as time passed, demons kept increasing all over the world, causing great suffering to the common people, and the Supreme Sect issued more missions to eliminate demons. Even Yi Lan and Zhen Qin had to join the efforts. Since their missions were within the Supreme Sect, Guwen was at ease. 2 years flew by in the blink of an eye. Guwen's lifespan reached over 7. For million years, getting closer to the 10 million mark. He used his divine sense to investigate the demon land daily. Should the demon calamity arrive prematurely, he would choose to break through early. He had already decided the location for his breakthrough. He would break through above the Southern Ocean. That day, and Hao and Xianxia left the Starmaster Cave. As they walked out of the mountain wall, they turned back, watching the cave entrance gradually disappear. "Where is your master? I haven't seen him all these years," Xianxia asked curiously. And Hao replied, "The old man is elusive, I don't know where he is either. But one thing is certain, if I encounter danger, he won't stand by and do nothing." Hearing this, he showed a pleased expression. Xianxia pursed her lips, wanting to mock him, but she held back. She couldn't forget the scene when Guwen obliterated the mystic heart realm with a flick of his sleeve. Such a great cultivator, Tianwei could not afford to offend. Just then, a figure leaped out of the forest, landing swiftly in front of the two. And Hao frowned, thinking it was an ambush, and prepared to fight. The newcomer was a man in Tianwei's official attire. He raised his hand in salute and said, "Your Highness, I have come under the Emperor's orders to escort you. His Majesty plans to marry you to An Hao, the top scholar on the Golden List." Upon hearing this, Si Yenner's face turned pale, and she angrily asked, "Is father insane? How can he marry me to this kind of person?" And Hao originally wanted to refuse, but hearing this, he immediately retorted displeasedly, What kind of person am I? Do you think I'm not worthy of you? Then I must marry you." The two began arguing. Meanwhile, the official attire man maintained his smile, watching their argument. Far away in the Supreme Sect's Mystic Valley, Gu-en was observing them. Chapter 160 You Are Not Strong Enough Relocate from Supreme Sect? Gu-en was stunned. He didn't expect that Du Yi had come to him regarding this matter. How could he leave Supreme Sect? His foundation was still here. Moreover, where could the Ji family go if they left Supreme Sect? Gu-en frowned and asked, "Why do they want to relocate?" Du Yi replied, "It seems to be related to the demonic calamity. The family has already found a place to avoid the calamity. No matter what, the family is willing to take both of us. We should be grateful. Get prepared. The exact time of departure hasn't been decided yet, but when it's time to leave, don't delay." Gu-en shook his head and said, "I can't leave. Tell the family, thank you for your kind intention, but I plan to stay and live or die with Supreme Sect." As soon as he said this, Du Yi was stunned, his brows immediately knitted tightly. He said in a deep voice, "Gu-en, don't forget where you and I come from. Sorry, the Ji family's nurturing grace, I've repaid over the years with medicinal herbs. But the kindness of Supreme Sect, I still can't repay. I can't leave, you go ahead. I will stay." Gu-en said seriously. Du Yi was furious, wanting to teach Gu-en a lesson, but he was afraid that other servant disciples would hear. There's still time. Think it over. When the demons invade Taizong Dynasty, you won't be able to hide even if you want to. Du Yi threw down those words and left in a huff. He came quickly and left quickly, but when he departed, there was no smile on his face. Despite Du Yi's anger, Gu-en felt warm inside. At least it showed that Du Yi cared about him. Otherwise, he wouldn't bother about his life or death. However, he really couldn't leave Supreme Sect. If Supreme Sect couldn't survive the demonic calamity, it wouldn't be too late for him to escape then. With Gu-en's cultivation level, if he really wanted to escape, who could stop him? It wasn't until nightfall that Gu-en entered the 8 scenic caves. Jiang Qiong was meditating under the green vine tree, training. In front of her stood a great cauldron, with the fire under the cauldron still burning. Feeling Gu-en's presence, Jiang Qiong asked nonchalantly, "Why are you here? Didn't you come just a couple of days ago?" Gu-en approached the great cauldron, looking at the medicinal soup inside as he said, "Today, someone from the Ji family came to see me. They said they're preparing to withdraw from Supreme Sect and told me to get ready." Hearing this, Jiang Qiong opened her eyes, her beautiful brows furrowing. She asked, "Are you going to leave?" If Gu-en were to leave, a new disciple from Supreme Sect would surely take over Mystic Valley, which wouldn't be good for her. There was also a trace of unexplainable annoyance in her heart. "I'm not leaving. I refused. I'm just puzzled about where the Ji family can go to avoid the demonic calamity," Gu-en sighed. He had come to ask Jiang Qiong about this, thinking she might know. Jiang Qiong sneered, "They must be hiding in the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. That 7 Stars Spirit Realm is a holy land, even demons dare not invade it. I heard that the Ji family plans to marry Ji Xiaoyu to a genius in the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. It seems to be true, the Ji family has indeed climbed high." So it was the 7 Stars Spirit Realm. Gu-en looked at Jiang Qiong and asked with a frown, "Is the 7 Stars Spirit Realm very powerful?" "Of course, it is powerful. On this land, dynasties change and races constantly engage in wars, but only the 7 Stars Spirit Realm has always existed. You tell me, are they powerful? In a sense, the 7 Stars Spirit Realm is the true ruler of this land. Those who pursued me were cultivators from the 7 Stars Spirit Realm because I got to the opportunity they wanted first," Jiang Qiong sneered. Listening to her, Gu-en wanted to say that if she, a nascent soul cultivator, could snatch opportunities from the cultivators of the 7 Stars Spirit Realm, then it showed that the 7 stars spirit realm wasn't that powerful. Jiang Qiong seemed to see through his thoughts and said, "The foundation of the 7 stars spirit realm is very strong. It should have a great heaven and earth no less vast than the 9 dynasties. The families inside are numerous, and their disciples are many. The ones I encountered on the 9 Nether Road were a group of young disciples out on a training mission. Those guys were all under 100 years old but had nascent soul cultivation. The 7 stars spirit realm is indeed terrifying." She showed a look of awe. Even though she was hunted by them, she had no thought of revenge because the difference in strength was too great. A great heaven and earth no less vast than the 9 dynasties? Guwen grew more curious about the 7 stars spirit realm. No wonder the 7 stars spirit realm didn't intervene in the racial conflicts on the mainland. Even if the human race on the ground was wiped out, there would still be a continuation of human lineage. Later, Guwen asked a few more questions. Jiang Qiong told him everything she knew. The more he learned, the more apprehensive he became of the 7 stars spirit realm. His intuition told him that after the demonic calamity, the 7 stars spirit realm might cause the next disaster. But Guwen wasn't anxious. His strategy was to act only when he was absolutely sure. If he could fight, he would fight. If not, head retreat and live to fight another day. Your third miss is engaged to the 7 stars spirit realm. Are you happy or unhappy? Jiang Qiong suddenly asked teasingly. Guwen casually replied, "Third miss is a girl of heavenly pride. Naturally, she would marry a boy of heavenly pride. I'd certainly be happy for her." Really? Not a bit of regret in your heart? Jiang Qiong asked with a smile. Guwen raised his eyebrows and shrugged, saying, "Indeed I have regrets. Actually, I admire the 3rd Mississippi. But, alas, my talent is mediocre, and I don't qualify to pursue her. Since I cannot have her, I can only console myself by wishing her well." Jiang Qiong's smile faded. She snorted coldly and said, "You do see it clearly. Correct? If status and talent don't match, affection will only harm you. Keep it up. Don't let your heart be easily moved again." Guwen nodded and said, "I don't need to be moved. There are plenty of female disciples in the valley." "Oh, is that why you don't like to cultivate?" "I mean, if I want to find a Daoist friend, it's not hard, but I don't want to." "That sounds better. Martial Master has lived longer than you, and Daoist friends are unreliable. How many Daoist friends abandon each other in moments of life and death? How many schemed against their partners for personal gain? Martial Master hopes you won't have feelings for anyone lightly. Be more cautious. Martial Master is looking out for you. Did you ever have a Daoist friend?" "If I did, I would have died long ago." Jiang Qiong began to preach earnestly to Guwen. Guwen, in return, asked questions sarcastically. After more than an ancient hour, Guwen finally left. Watching Guwen's retreating back, Jiang Qiong thought to herself, "This lad didn't even call me Martial Master. His mind is a bit wild." The tail end of summer eventually slipped away, and another autumn arrived. Guwen came to Tianya Valley and noticed that there was one more person in the valley. Since LV Xian and Iluyan left, the valley only had Luo Hun and 3 monkey demons for company. Because of this, Guwen brought lots of books for Luo Hun, even a chess set. Actually, even without these, Luo Hun wouldn't feel bored, since he was a cultivator. But because Guwen brought them, it was easier for him to get distracted. He often cursed Guwen for being sinister, but he couldn't refuse, as Daoist Sunshin's writings were indeed compelling. Guwen walked down from the hillside, looking at the figure standing in front of the wooden fence from afar. Ji Rolai, Nascent Soul Realm, 8th floor 96/700/3900 Ji Rolai? Guwen raised his eyebrows. He had heard of this name. He was Ji Xiaoyu's biological elder brother, taken to the main family for training when he was young. Guwen had never met him, only heard about him from other house servants. He didn't expect that Li Xiandao had even roped in Ji Xiaoyu's brother. Luo Hun descended from the sky, landing beside Guwen. He introduced Ji Rolai to Guwen and asked, "You've heard of him, right? After all, you also come from the Ji family." Guwen nodded. The two approached Ji Rolai from behind. Ji Rolai stared at the flowers and plants in the park, lost in thought. When Luo Hun called out to him, he snapped out of it. He turned to look at Guan and Luo Hun and said, "So this is the Valley Master, Guan?" Guan raised his hand in greeting and said, "Greetings, second young master." Ji Rolai waved his hand and said, "Here, I must address you as Valley Master. His Majesty said him to assist you." The talents who came to Tianya Valley had to assist Guan, yet they could freely ask for any herbs in the valley, so Ji Rolai was friendly to Guan. But Guan didn't need their assistance. He preferred to give them a small favor instead. "Second young master, feel free to focus on your cultivation. The trivial matters of the valley are handled by Sunda and the others," Guan said softly with a smile. Ji Rolai nodded and then started a casual conversation with him. He noticed a strange cold aura in Ji Rolai's body, which surrounded his golden core. After chatting for a while, Guan excused himself, as he needed to pick medicinal herbs. Ji Rolai watched Guan's departing figure, deep in thought. Luo Hun caught up with Guan and whispered, "Did you find the supreme secret records I asked you to look for?" Guan reluctantly refrained from rolling his eyes and whispered back, "No, that book has already disappeared without a trace. Forget about it. Isn't Daoist Zunshan's works and Green Hero travel enough for you?" Luo Hun could only sigh regretfully and then left. Guan shook his head, smiling. He wondered where Luo Hun had heard about it, knowing even about the supreme secret records, and asked Guan to buy it. Guan feared it might lead Luo Hun astray, affecting his training, so he didn't help him buy it. It was all Shenzhen's fault for corrupting the ethos of the immortal cultivation world. Late at night, in a dilapidated temple, a man in plain clothes fell to the ground, his right foot twitching a few times before he completely stopped breathing. Standing beside him was a man in black, Su Han. Su Han had just absorbed the spiritual power of the plain-clothed man. He was cultivating energy with both hands, trying to harmonize it. From his tightly knit brows, it was evident that he was in discomfort. There were 4 other corpses beside him, both male and female, all dead. A gust of ghostly air entered through a hole in the roof, forming the figure of the ghost mother of Ephemera. Under the moonlight, the ghost mother of Ephemera's pale face looked eerily terrifying. She stood aside, watching Su Han. For a long time, Su Han opened his eyes, exhaling a breath of murky air. The ghost mother of Ephemera began, "I've already leaked your whereabouts. In no more than 7 days, many cultivators will come to hunt you down. I will have the 9 Nether 13 evil intercept the great cultivators. Seize this chance and don't let anyone escape." Su Han nodded, then asked, "Ghost Mother, why are so many people seeking their own death when I have no grudge against them?" The ghost mother of Ephemera replied calmly, "Some want to kill you to make a name for themselves. Some want to kill you to claim the sword sex bounty. The fundamental reason they pursue you is that you're not strong enough. They think they can kill you." Chapter 161. The Mahayana Demon Attacks, The Only Way Out. Hearing the words of the ghost mother of Ephemera, Su Han remained silent. He did not refute her because he also felt that he was weak. Along the way, he had narrowly escaped death many times, relying not on his own strength. Su Han was very clear that he was just a pawn. Like the ghost mother of Ephemera in front of him who was helping him wholeheartedly, she must have had her own motives. But he had no other choice. The time left for you is running out. The demon calamity is approaching. The defying fate divine skill can only absorb the spiritual power of cultivators, not demonic power. When the demon calamity descends, if you're unwilling to abandon your principles, it will be tough for you to become stronger as every cultivator will be busy resisting the demons, said the ghost mother of Ephemera. Upon hearing this, Su Han asked, "Are you in a hurry? What do you ultimately want me to do?" The ghost mother of Ephemera answered, "That depends on how strong you can become. It's not me who should be in a hurry but you. Since the day you began cultivating the hateful heaven divine sword, your lifespan has been limited. No matter how high a realm you reach, your lifespan will not increase unless you can reach the legendary immortal realm. Su Han frowned. The ghost mother of ephemera had mentioned the drawbacks of the hateful heaven divine sword more than once. It seemed like a reminder for his own good, but he felt threatened and oppressed. I will do my best, Su Han said, and then sat down to meditate, beginning his cultivation. The ghost mother of ephemera watched him for a while, then transformed into a wisp of ghostly energy and dissipated. Su Han looked up, gazing at the full moon outside. For some reason, he suddenly felt an immense sorrow and confusion. It seemed no one in the world remembered him anymore. Winter snow arrived, covering the third Medicine Valley in a vast expanse of white, making everything look desolate. Guwen stood on the balcony, appreciating the snowy scenery while thinking about the next volume of Shattering Void. Shattering Void had become incredibly popular, and its popularity far exceeded Guwen's expectations. The first 5 volumes alone had outsold the entire series of Supreme Immortal Venerable. The essence of Shattering Void was the same as Supreme Immortal Venerable, a feel-good story. But the theme of Shattering Void resonated deeply with the current mindset of cultivators across the world. With the demon calamity looming, various sects continued to send disciples out to gather information. As more intelligence came in, the whole immortal cultivation world grew increasingly oppressive. More and more people felt they were at the end of their path in cultivation. If only they could shatter the void and escape, how wonderful that would be. In the distance, a white spirit rat scampered across the snow, with Xiaochuan chasing behind it. Not only did he fail to catch it, but the white spirit rat also kicked snow into his face, amusing Guwen greatly. It was hard to tell what charm this plump rat had that Xiaochuan liked it so much. Lu Lingjun walked to Guwen's building, looked up at him, and said, "Valley Master, have you felt anything?" Guwen lowered his eyes and asked, "Cold?" "Indeed, you could say that. There is a powerful demonic energy coming from the north. Could it be a sign that the demon calamity is about to arrive?" Lu Lingjun replied, her gaze also shifting to the north. Guwen had actually sensed it long ago. A powerful demon at the Mahayana realm was moving south and was almost at the territory of the 8 dynasties. He did not intervene. He wanted to see if there were any hidden experts in the territory of the 8 dynasties. When the demon calamity erupted, he couldn't rely on his strength alone to turn the tide. Apart from the danger, doing so would draw too much hatred, making it easy for the 7 Stars spirit realm to target him. Although Guwen's divine sense could cover the 9 dynasties' territory, the world was vast, and some people always managed to hide, like the Star Master Cave, which he hadn't discovered with his divine sense before. Guwen asked, "If the demon calamity descends, what will you do?" Lu Lingjun replied, "Naturally, I will fight alongside the Supreme Sect, but if we are overpowered and see no hope, I will head south to seek an immortal fate." Having ascended for so many years, she had a deep understanding of this world. Since ancient times, when great cultivators hit bottlenecks, they would venture south. Even though the seas were more perilous than the demon lands, there were still those who pressed on without hesitation. As an ascender, Lu Lingjun naturally would not perish with the Supreme Sect. Guwen nodded slightly, not making any comment. Lu Lingjun looked at Guwen and asked, "What about you, Valley Master?" Guwen feigned hesitation and said, "I will diligently plant medicinal herbs and contribute my strength. If the Supreme Sect were to fall, then I would take my own life to avoid being devoured by demons." Hearing this, Lu Lingjun rolled her eyes at Guwen, thinking he was hopeless. Guwen chuckled and didn't continue the topic to prevent panic among the other servant disciples. However, how would the immortal cultivation world deal with the impending Mahayana realm demon? The snow kept falling incessantly as if it wanted to bury the world. Night fell. Guwen arrived at Nianchu Cave in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. As soon as he entered, he saw Tian Yaoer crouching by the medicine cauldron, warming herself by the fire, hugging her knees, shivering, even burying her head. Guwen walked towards Tian Yaoer, deliberately making footstep sounds, causing Tian Yaoer to lift her head. Seeing Guwen, she immediately beamed and rushed towards him, hugging him. "What's the matter with you?" Seeing that she was really frightened, Guan did not push her away but asked concernedly. Tianyao buried her head in Guan's chest and whispered, "I'm scared. It feels like something terrifying is approaching." She clung tightly to Guan's waist, afraid he would leave. Guan patted her shoulder and comforted her, saying, "Don't be afraid. That creature isn't heading towards Heavenly Phoenix Mountain. It's far away from us." Upon hearing this, Tianyao looked up and cautiously asked, "Really? Really? Besides, haven't I come to stay with you? But you can't even defeat the demon mother. I feel that terrifying presence is even stronger than the demon mother. Indeed, I can't defeat it, but I will take you along and flee if we have to. Then don't lie to me. If you are going to leave here, you must take me with you." "I won't lie to you," Guan assured her. If not for his help, Tianyao might have been devoured by demons. She could only rely on him. How could he abandon her? Nonetheless, Tianyao's reaction surprised him somewhat. Being a demon herself, why would she be so scared? He led Tianyao to sit down and asked her to explain why she was so frightened. Unfortunately, Tianyao fumbled for a long time and couldn't articulate it clearly. Based on the Black Crow demon envoy's memories, Guan knew the origin of the powerful demon. Six-headed sea dragon, one of the 72 great demon kings, ruling 10,000 miles, with countless demon soldiers and demon generals under his command, known for his violent nature and infamous reputation. Even the Black Crow demon envoy, when meeting him, tread carefully, fearing being swallowed in one gulp. At this moment, the six-headed sea dragon was leading millions of demons southward, and along the way, more demons joined, including demon kings willing to follow him. His overwhelming demonic energy had alarmed the human race's immortal cultivation world. Guan could sense many cultivators heading towards the 8 Dynasties territory, with more than 20 mystic heart realm cultivators among them. Guan comforted Tianyao for a while, and she finally calmed down. Surprisingly, she fell asleep on his lap. It seemed he would have to stay here a while longer tonight. Morning. At dawn, a dragon's roar echoed from afar, startling the servant disciples in the Mystic Valley. Chu Jingfeng, meditating on a cliff, opened his eyes and looked towards the sky, his brows furrowed, as the snow on his body gradually melted. In the valley, the servant disciples gathered, discussing where the sound came from and what demon had made it. Guan walked into the valley from the endless snow, collected his flying sword, and was immediately surrounded by servant disciples asking about the dragon's roar. "I also don't know what demon made it, but you can rest assured, staying in the Supreme Sect, you won't have to worry." Guan reassured. The current batch of disciples in Mystic Valley was new. Besides Lu Jiujia and Chu Jingfeng, none had experienced various calamities Mystic Valley had faced, so the disciples easily believed Guan's words. In the following days, news continuously arrived at the Supreme Sect. The name of the six-headed sea dragon forcefully entered the eyes of Supreme Sect disciples. A great cultivator of the mystic heart realm had already been devoured by him alive, causing unrest throughout the Supreme Sect. A large number of disciples were dispatched to the north to provide support. Even Gu Zong personally came to the Third Medicine Valley to request Lu Lingjun's assistance. After hesitating, Lu Lingjun decided to step in. Along with her was ancestor Xian Quan. The news of their departure spread across the cities of the Supreme Sect. However, when Guan roamed the Outer Gate city, he found that many people had little hope for the 2 mystical heart realm cultivators, praying more for their safety. Ancestor Quzong's fall had cast a significant shadow over the Supreme Sect. Guan was also paying attention to the distant battle. Songtian's sect once again took the lead role, leading by example, using the spiritual power of 1,000,000 cultivators to set up a grand formation, creating a barrier against the demon clan's invasion. 14 mystic heart realm cultivators surrounded the six-headed sea dragon, none daring to get close, and the battle turned completely one-sided. However, the six-headed sea dragon showed no interest in entering human territory, merely taunting and issuing various threats and insults, enraging and terrifying the immortal cultivation world. It seemed like the six-headed sea dragon was testing the 8 Dynasties territory. Perhaps fearing the Daoist lord of Songtian's sect, or possibly wary of the mountain god. Early the next morning, Lu Lingjun and ancestor Xian Quan joined the war. Guwen watched throughout, to prevent their deaths. Facing the powerful six-headed sea dragon, Lu Lingjun and Xian Quan were soon defeated and fled back to the human territory to recover their injuries. Guwen felt that Lu Lingjun was purposely underperforming, intentionally getting injured, and then retreating. Perhaps she too believed that fighting to the death was a real possibility of dying. The less the six-headed sea dragon invaded human territory, the more Guwen suspected there was a stronger demon behind him. Xie's father, the Demon Emperor. That Demon Emperor ruled over the demons and monsters of the demon land. Perhaps this was a test he arranged. Several days later, Guwen arrived at the outer gate city, witnessing a complex scene. He saw the vast heavenly repair stone with tens of thousands of disciples meditating on it. Gu Zong even sat under the words, righteous path, forcing those meditating on sword enlightenment to leave the platform. Xie had come down. Seeing Guwen, he approached and sighed, the northern territory is in crisis. Chapter 162 Please Sword Venerable Fudao take action. Guwen could only sigh along with Xie when he heard his words. Escape to the ocean? What a joke! Guwen didn't know what was on Xie's mind, but he felt that after the extermination of the 8 dynasties' human race, the next to suffer would be the demons. The previous legends had already proven this. When the land was covered by demons, powerful cultivators would come. Using humans to feed demons, using demons to feed humans? By making some adjustments, it wouldn't be fratricide, and the Holy Land would still be revered by both races. Guwen chatted with Xie half-heartedly, his eyes never leaving the heavenly repair platform. He was also weighing whether to make a move. After all, he was still quite some time away from the critical point of 1,000,000 years of lifespan. If he broke through now, he would certainly break through to a higher realm, but he wanted to unlock the next lifespan function even more. He feared that his intervention might accelerate the process of the Great Demon Calamity. The Great Jiang Dynasty, here in the northernmost part of the 8 dynasties, was a land of towering mountains and precipitous ridges, full of world-renowned wonders. Backed by the demon land, the survival environment for the cultivators of the Great Jiang Dynasty was more difficult, which was why it had produced the strongest dynasty. In the northern territory, where mountains overlapped and heavy snow covered the sky, the majestic snow mist made the mountains appear as the ridges of a true dragon, grand and spectacular, and almost like a wall created by heaven, separating the world into 2 halves. On one of the mountains, Lu Lingjun sat cross-legged on a giant boulder. The spiritual power emanating from her kept the surrounding snow mist at bay, forming wisps of white smoke rising into the air. She slowly opened her eyes, gazing towards the horizon. In the front, the mountains still undulated, and there was a faint firelight at the end of the world, which the flying snow could not completely obscure. Strong winds occasionally blew towards Lu Lingjun. The terrifying demon energy of the 6-headed sea dragon enveloped the entire world, making even Lu Lingjun and the white spirit demon emperor on her shoulder uneasy. What is he waiting for? The white spirit demon emperor asked in a low voice. Lu Lingjun remained calm and replied, it might have something to do with the mountain god. After all, a Mahayana cultivator died at the hands of the mountain god. Will the mountain god take action? There are many more demons in the north. This calamity is far beyond what the ephemera sect can compare to. No matter how you look at it, the human race is doomed, the white spirit demon emperor muttered. As a demon itself, it naturally would not side with the human race. It hoped Lu Lingjun would leave this troubled place. Lu Lingjun remained silent, looking into the distance, her thoughts unknown. The white spirit demon emperor couldn't help but urge, Lingjun, why not head south? Perhaps the ocean isn't as dangerous. Lu Lingjun wistfully said, do you remember when the Supreme Sect's cultivators protected me during my breakthrough? Upon hearing this, the white spirit demon emperor opened its mouth but finally said nothing. It understood Lu Lingjun too well. If Lu Lingjun wasn't so sentimental, Would it have followed her? The white spirit demon emperor's snake head lowered, and it said sullenly, "Then let's see how powerful the mountain god is. By the way, the supreme sect still has a sword venerable Fu Dao. He should take action." Screech, a piercing dragon roar echoed through the sky, snow mixed with a fishy wind rushed forward, and the mountains beneath Lu Lingjun trembled. 10,000 miles away. War was raging, the land was charred, lava flowed among the scorched earth, firelight floated between heaven and earth, and mountains were flattened, leaving behind giant holes in the remaining peaks. Numerous cultivators hovered in the sky, with various grand formations spanning the heavens. The land was divided into two by an abyssal rift, with human race cultivators casting spells on one side and demons and ghosts crammed along the cliff edge on the other, their faces twisted in ferocity, their roars and howls turning the land into a hellscape. A terrifying giant demon stood behind the endless hordes of demons, his towering body cloaked in black armor, with sharp fangs on his shoulder guards resembling mountain peaks, and heads hanging from his belt, all of them great demons' heads. His body was humanoid, soaring 1,000 feet high, with his neck reaching into the clouds, and 6 sea dragon heads looming amidst the cloud cover, with pairs of blood-red eyes seemingly peering from the abyss, instilling terror amongst those who saw them. He was the 6-headed sea dragon, a peerless great demon, fearsome across the demon land. On his shoulder was a small figure shrouded in pitch-black demon energy, revealing only a goat head with eyes red like blood beads. Great King, it appears the human race has no Mahayana cultivators, and that so-called mountain god doesn't dare cause trouble, the goat-headed demon said, its voice reaching the 6-headed sea dragon's ears. Upon hearing this, a terrifying pressure erupted, sending the demons in front fleeing in panic, making way for the 6-headed sea dragon. In the face of the mountain-sized 6-headed sea dragon, most demons were as insignificant as ants. As the 6-headed sea dragon stepped forward, ghostly energy surged, forming countless seductive female ghosts, whose laughter gathering together caused disorientation among the distant human race cultivators. The 6-headed sea dragon is coming. A burly man in a gray robe roared in anger, his voice thunderous. The Zhangtian sect master, Liang Zhenghai, flew to the front of the formation, raising his long sword high and shouting angrily, "Disciples of the Zhangtian sect, follow orders, take your elixirs and fight to the death." As his voice fell, 1,000,000 Zhangtian sect disciples without hesitation took out their elixirs, which were dark brown. After consuming them, their spiritual power surged, blood energy emanated from their bodies, their faces turned blue with bulging veins, and their eyes were bloodshot. The leaders of other sects also gave similar orders, all prepared to fight to the death. The supreme sect was no exception. Ancestor Xian Quan flew over the battlefield to the edge of the cliff, holding a horsetail whisk in one hand. He drew talismans with the other hand, each one forming a symbol made of spiritual power which lined up in front. More and more mystic heart realm great cultivators flew to the skies above the cliff that divided the battlefield, facing the approaching 6-headed sea dragon together. Mad swordsman Han Ming was also in the Great Yu Dynasty's formation, ready to fight to the death. Lu Lingjun arrived, stepping on a 100-zhang-long white python, holding a sword in both hands, her presence dominant, with no fear in her eyes. It seems the human race has no Mahayana cultivators. If that's the case, they should become livestock for the demon clan. The icy voice of the 6-headed sea dragon echoed throughout heaven and earth. Following this, the 6 terrifying dragon heads roared simultaneously, shaking the world. The dragon roar converged and spread far, reaching the land of the 8 dynasties. The great battle reignited. This time, the 6-headed sea dragon's advance signified the official start of the demon calamity. The supreme sect, Outer Gate City. When the dragon roar came from afar, the flying snow seemed to pause, and the hundreds of thousands of disciples on the heavenly repair platform simultaneously opened their eyes. Gu Zong, sitting in the center, had a drastic change in his expression, his eyes full of worry. Disciples in the streets, manors, and courtyards were all disturbed. Even without seeing the situation in the Northern Territory, just hearing the sound made them tremble with fear. What kind of demonic monstrosity could produce such a terrifying roar? Even the Medicine Valley outside the outer gate was alarmed. Mystic Valley, mountaintop. Gu In and Chu Jingfeng stood side by side, gazing northward, their robes billowing in the wind and snow. Chu Jingfeng frowned upon hearing the dragon roar of the six-headed sea dragon and asked, "Valley Master, do you think the Supreme Sect can survive this calamity this time?" Guin, observing the battle with his divine sense, said, "Of course, trust the Supreme Sect, trust our immortal cultivation world." All the swords were trembling, and they felt a mighty sword intent enveloping them. Could it be? The Supreme Sect cultivators' hearts filled with a daring speculation. Chapter 163, Execution of the Great Demon King, the Terrifying Sword Venerable. All the swords and flying swords in the city were trembling, exciting the cultivators immensely. They even raised their swords, holding them aloft. It's the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. Sword Venerable Fudao heard our call. This sword intent is indeed from Sword Venerable Fudao. With such vast sword intent, it should be able to contend with the six-headed sea dragon, right? Where is Sword Venerable Fudao? Could he be in the city? The city was in an uproar. Everyone was very excited. Clang! The sound of swords being drawn suddenly overshadowed the clamor of voices. Countless swords rose into the sky, their tips pointing upwards, all hovering at the same height. There were over 1,000,000 swords, and their light was so dazzling that it even outshone the falling snow. On the heavenly repair platform, Gu Zong stood up, and so did the other disciples, all gazing up at the swords in the sky. Di Xie stood on the eaves, looking up at the scene, with an expression of incredulity on the face of this mystic heart realm great demon. Such sword intent, Di Xie murmured to himself. Having come to the Supreme Sect for so many years, he had deeply felt the sword intent of Sword Venerable Fudao. He thought he had overestimated Sword Venerable Fudao, but now he realized the depth of his immeasurable power. Even though he had the third layer of the mystic heart realm cultivation, facing this sword intent made Di Xie feel insurmountable. Under the gaze of the entire city, over 1,000,000 swords flew towards the north, sword chi bursting forth, dispersing the falling snow between heaven and earth, unstoppable, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. The vast sky was cleaved in two, revealing a clear blue sky, a magnificent sight. Gu Zong's hair was blown askew by the strong wind as he looked towards the direction of the departing 1,000,000 swords, a smile appearing on his face, no longer with a frown as before. Six-headed sea dragon, can you withstand the strongest sword of the Supreme Sect? Great Jiang Dynasty, Northern Territory. Endless cultivators flew towards the north like a rain of arrows, a magnificent sight that scattered the falling snow in the sky. Looking in the direction they were flying, thousands of miles away, on the demon battlefield, the six-headed sea dragon had already leaped over the bottomless canyon. Countless demonic creatures leaped over the canyon, following him to massacre the territory of the human race. The six-headed sea dragon grasped a great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand. No matter how the cultivator struggled, he couldn't break free from his grasp. Thousands of feet away, numerous great cultivators of the mystic heart realm kept casting spells, but unfortunately, their spells and divine skills did not cause any harm to the six-headed sea dragon, not even breaking through his armor. Rocks fell like a meteor shower, striking the demonic army, yet the six-headed sea dragon had no intention of protecting his subordinates. As he advanced, he threw the great cultivator of the mystic heart realm in his hand into his mouth, chewing as his six heads twisted around, scanning in all directions. Occasionally, he would grab almost dead demons from the distance, swallow them in one bite, and blood rained down. Each of his mouths was stained with blood, a horrific sight. His posture was lazy yet dominating. The cultivators of the mystic heart realm felt utterly hopeless. They had never felt so helpless even when facing Butcher Immortal Jing from the Ephemera sect, Because Butcher Immortal Jing had died too quickly then, whereas now they truly felt the might of a Mahayana realm being. Lu Lingjun stood on the back of the White Spirit Demon Emperor, her hair disheveled, her right shoulder bleeding profusely, blood bubbling constantly. She looked at the six-headed sea dragon from afar with eyes full of unwillingness. We can't move him at all. If this continues, we could end up in his mouth any time. The White Spirit Demon Emperor said despondently, without any of the bearing of a unification realm being. It now only wanted to flee from this place. Lu Lingjun took a deep breath, knowing that continuing the battle was hopeless and would only lead to pointless sacrifices. She harbored thoughts of retreating, and not just from the battlefield, but from this continent altogether. Just then, she seemed to sense something and suddenly turned her head, eyes wide with disbelief. Behind, the world was vast and covered in white. Snow obscured everything, and the snow mist blew towards her with the wind. Not only her, more and more cultivators felt something, all turning their heads to look. Liang Tonghai, the master of the Tangqian sect, blood-covered and disheveled, held a great cauldron in his right hand, emitting tens of thousands of green lights, sweeping across the battlefield. Blood flowers burst wherever the lights swept, but his attacks on the six-headed sea dragon had no effect. He suddenly turned sideways, eyes widened in shock, looking back. The six-headed sea dragon, advancing and feeding simultaneously, also seemed to sense something. All six heads turned forward. His six dragon faces twisted ferociously, roaring forward in unison, the dragon's roar shaking heaven and earth. Countless lower cultivation cultivators and demons bled from the 7 orifices, stunned by the roar. The six-headed sea dragon raised his hand, demon energy bursting from his palm, manifesting a giant bone knife out of thin air. He gripped the knife with both hands and slashed forward in fury. As the knife slashed out, demon energy surged like waves, transforming into black dragons that vied to reach the end of the world, sweeping heaven and earth. Any cultivator in the path was turned to ash on impact. Boom! A shocking thunderous sound came from the horizon. Sword light illuminated heaven and earth, and a terrifying sword chi, at a speed far surpassing the black dragon's demon energy, came killing from the horizon. Countless cultivators were overtaken by the sword chi along the way. These cultivators only felt heaven and earth brighten suddenly. Next, they were enveloped by a mysterious and vast sword intent, their pupils dilating, a multitude of swords surrounded by sword chi passing by them and forcefully entering their field of vision. Lu Lingjun, being of higher cultivation, reacted faster, yet she was still overwhelmed by the countless swords. She didn't dare move, only able to watch the swords rush towards the six-headed sea dragon. Her beautiful eyes widened, full of shock. In merely the blink of an eye, over 1,000,000 swords converged into a gigantic sword chi, fiercely dispersing the black dragon demon energy, rushing headlong towards the six-headed sea dragon. The six-headed sea dragon reacted extremely quickly. After the slash, all 6 heads opened their mouths, spewing torrents of flames like a burning river sweeping the sky. Boom! The flames were shredded, and the massive demon body of the six-headed sea dragon was hit, forced to retreat repeatedly, flesh flying as if in a torrential downpour. After retreating 7 steps, the six-headed sea dragon stopped. The million-sword group had already pierced through his demon body, tracing an upward arc in the sky before halting. Countless cultivators and demonic creatures stared, trembling, as the demon energy dissipated and the dragon heads fell to the ground, raising clouds of dust. The terrifying demon body of the six-headed sea dragon was full of bloody holes, densely packed, horrifying. Its life force was completely extinguished. The sword intent of the Taizong divine shocking sword forcefully eradicated its primordial spirit. A Mahayana demon core hovered among the 1,000,000 swords, the demon core of the six-headed sea dragon. Silence reigned over the world. Whether cultivators of the human race or demonic creatures, all gaped at the scene in shock. The nearly invincible six-headed sea dragon died just like that? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The 1,000,000-sword group began flying towards the Taizong dynasty, the sound of swords breaking through the air incessantly, shattering the silence. Sword Venerable Fudao. It's our supreme sect's sword Venerable Fudao. A great cultivator shouted in ecstasy. It wasn't just him. Those cultivators who had experienced the sword intent at the heavenly repair platform were all excited, chanting the name of Sword Venerable Fudao. Lu Lingjun looked up at the million sword group resembling a meteor shower, eyes full of complex emotions. Next to the stone table, Guan and Tianyao began roasting lamb legs, chatting and laughing. Tianyao was always talkative when facing him, creating a festive atmosphere. By the way, Master, I've been hearing a strange sound lately, as if it's coming from outside. Could it be that a demon has discovered this cave? Tianyao suddenly asked, her mouth greasy, face smeared with sauce, her frowned look making Guan want to laugh. Guan replied, "Don't worry, no demon will intrude here. I've seen the one making that sound. It's only temporarily residing in Heavenly Phoenix Mountain." Hearing this, Tianyao immediately felt relieved. "Oh, Master, where do you go after leaving the cave? Did you go live among humans?" Tianyao asked. "Yes, I have other caves to tend to." Master, you don't have other demons raised, do you?" "There are a few, but none as powerful as you." "Are there any female demons?" "Of course not. Those demons lack the capacity to shapeshift." "That's good. Master, do you have a Daoist friend?" Tianyao seemed to have opened a can of worms, constantly pressing with questions. Guan raised an eyebrow under his mask and asked, "Where did you hear about Daoist friends?" Tianyao took a bite of lamb, replying unclearly, "From the books you left, do you have a Daoist friend or not?" Guan answered, "Of course not." Tianyao looked pleased, but Guan's next words made her face fall. "But there are a few women who might become my Daoist friends. I'm quite troubled, not knowing whom to choose." Tianyao put down the lamb leg, wiped the grime off her face, and asked seriously, "Master, do you think I'm suitable?" Guan glanced at her and said irritably, "What? You want to climb ranks?" "It's not that. I just thought I could meet the standards of the Daoist friend in the books. Besides, I'll never betray you like those in the books. I'll definitely live and die with you in the future." Tianyao hastily explained, "You want to live and die with me, but I don't want to. I'm aiming for longevity." Guan was determined to live longer than heaven and earth, so he wouldn't be moved by such words. He replied grumpily, "Focus on your cultivation, little demon, and don't think about nonsensical things. Whether human or demon, cultivation should come first. Emotions should be at most a secondary pursuit." "All right, then what requirements do you have for a Daoist friend?" "I was just teasing you earlier. I won't seek a Daoist friend. If I did, imagine the sorrow when I have to bury her in the future." "That does seem reasonable. I asked you to read books so you could understand the world's ways, not think about feelings." "I understand, no thoughts about feelings, but if Master wants, I'm always ready." Seeing Tianyao's serious expression, Guan's eyes couldn't help but drift downward, but he quickly looked away. He changed the topic and started talking about cultivation. Tianyao pouted, feeling a bit disheartened, but still listened attentively. She could only see Guan twice a month, so she cherished their time together. After the new year, the name of Sword Venerable Fudao was already spreading across the world. The supreme sect wasn't idle either, issuing many demon-slaying tasks, prompting more disciples to descend the mountain to save the common people. Mystic Valley, inside a pavilion. Guan was weaving a robe for himself. Normally, he didn't need to meditate or absorb energy, so he had plenty of time to pursue his hobbies, tailoring being one of them. The reason he wanted to weave a robe was that he was preparing to descend the mountain to slay demons and monsters. Partly to help the common people and partly to seize the opportunity to extend his life, striving to reach a lifespan of 10 million years as soon as possible. He also wanted to experience the lives of Yi Lan and Zhenqin. Finally, Guan finished the robe, stored it in his storage bag, and then took up the Qinghong sword and walked out of the pavilion. He greeted Lu Jiujia and left Mystic Valley. Lu Jiujia wasn't curious about where he was going. After all, he frequently left Mystic Valley, and in the eyes of the disciples in the valley, the master was a busy man. Under the blue sky and white clouds, Guwen stood on a cliff, wearing a dark purple robe. A belt cinched his waist, and an embroidered dark red phoenix adorned his robe, with the Qinghong sword sheathed at his waist. He took out an opera mask, put it on, and then placed a bamboo hat on his head. After adjusting himself, he used his divine sense to inspect his appearance. The figure looked good, exuding a compelling aura. Like a wandering hero in martial arts legends. Guwen leapt into the forest below, quickly disappearing from sight. Hundreds of miles away, a battle was taking place in the wilds. Several escort vehicles were halted, and over a dozen armed escorts were fighting against attacking demon beasts from all directions. Behind the escort vehicles, there was a carriage with spooked horses neighing incessantly, inside which a mother and son clung to each other tightly. These armed escorts weren't cultivators, they were merely martial artists, no match for the demon beasts. Just as the escorts were about to despair, a strong wind swept through. Following that, a figure rushed out from the nearby forest, moving as swiftly as a hare, wielding a sword like the wind, cutting down one demon beast after another. In less than 3 breaths, all 9 demon beasts were dead. The escorts turned to look and could just barely make out an embroidered dark red phoenix on the figure's back. Before they could speak, the figure quickly disappeared. Amazing! That person must be a cultivator, right? Of course, how could a martial artist have such skills? Incredible! I couldn't even see how he made his moves. Me neither. I wonder which sect that cultivator is from. Chapter 165. 8 million years of lifespan. Looking at the group of black silhouettes carrying a coffin, Yi Lan furrowed her brows tightly. The other disciples were the same. They couldn't discern the aura of the other party, which made their hearts sink. The newcomers were indeed the 9 nether 13 evil. Underneath the night sky, they were like 13 ghostly shadows, so terrifying. We are disciples of the law enforcement hall of the Supreme Sect. What do you intend to do? A male disciple shouted in a deep voice. In the Taizong dynasty, as disciples of the Supreme Sect, they still had some confidence. Upon hearing this, the 9 nether 13 evil were unmoved. Seeing them continually approaching, the disciples of the law enforcement hall had to retreat. All right, don't scare them. Let them leave quickly. A weak voice came from inside the coffin. Zhenqin widened her eyes and couldn't help but shout, "Senior brother Su? Suhan?" The disciples of the law enforcement hall were greatly shocked, speeding up their retreat, and Yi Lan's face also became serious. Su Han's name in the world of immortal cultivation was like thunder, but his reputation was of fiendish ferocity. So it's your junior sister. No wonder you want to let them leave. Then hurry up and get lost. A black silhouette said sinisterly. Zhenqin wanted to speak, but Yi Lan stopped her, and without uttering harsh words, led the disciples away immediately. As they left, Zhenqin frequently looked back, her gaze falling on the coffin, but unfortunately, she couldn't see through it. Just like that, Yi Lan and the others quickly departed. The 9 nether 13 evil then put down the coffin, and the coffin lid was opened. Su Han sat up from inside, his hair disheveled, one hand clutching the coffin board. The 9 nether 13 evil spread out, setting up formations in all directions. Su Han stared in the direction where Yi Lan, Zhenqin, and others had left, his eyes complex, lost in thought. Thousands of miles away. Above the forest, Guwen stood atop a tree, watching the scene from afar. He embraced the Qinghong sword, his face concealed by a mask, only his eyes flickering with a ghostly light. After watching for a while, Guwen finally turned around and leaped into the mountain forest. Spring arrived, everything revived, the sky over the Supreme Sect turned blue, dotted with white clouds, and the scenery was delightful. In the third medicine valley, Guwen was picking medicinal herbs, an Exen following beside him, holding a bamboo basket. In those days, Guwen would go out daily to save people and slay demons. Although his lifespan did not increase rapidly, it still increased by several thousand years each day. Mainly, he wasn't solely targeting demons. In the process, he also experienced the various states of the mortal world. These refugees' homes were likely destroyed by demons, forcing them to head to other cities. However, demons weren't the only troubles in these times. There were also evil people preying on the vulnerable. Looting was common. Guwen had even killed several evil men who were assaulting women. Guwen also did not look at the refugees. He was pondering a question. If he didn't have the ability to steal lifespans, how would he survive in this world? From the Holy Land nurturing demons to harm the living to the common folks suffering from demons and evil men. Even though Guwen wanted to cultivate in peace, if he could do something within his power without endangering himself, he would still like to help. As he walked and pondered, he suddenly sensed an aura coming from the south. He ceased his thoughts and extended his divine sense. The divine sense of the ninth layer of the Nirvana realm swept over mountains and rivers, lakes and seas, arriving at the vast blue ocean. He saw a brilliant white light appear at the horizon. Carefully observing, it was a series of white lotuses forming a staircase in the air, continuously extending forward, while the lotuses at the back disappeared. A Daoist was stepping on the white lotus steps as if an immortal walking in the mortal world. Mahayana cultivator. Finally, a Mahayana cultivator returned. Guwen felt relieved. If he had to face the demon calamity alone, he would indeed consider fleeing with others. Relying on a lone individual's strength to avert the calamity of extinction would certainly attract the attention of all factions in the Seven Stars spirit realm and those hidden forces. They would investigate him madly. Even if he hid deeply, he couldn't guarantee they wouldn't find him. This didn't align with his cultivation philosophy. He needed others to share the burden, so he could act with less pressure. Subsequently, Guwen quickened his pace and continued his demon-slaying plan. He didn't kill every demon he encountered. He only targeted those attacking villages and people. If he could earn hundreds of thousands of years of lifespan each year, it wouldn't take more than 3 years for him to break through to the next realm. Guwen had high expectations for the second realm of the immortal path. The return of the Daoist lord of Xianxia sect. This news was like a bombshell, shaking the entire world of immortal cultivation. The news reached the supreme sect, and the disciples were thrilled. Legends about the Daoist lord started spreading wildly in various cities. When Guwen went to the book collection hall at the outer sect to return books, he heard many disciples discussing the Daoist lord. Although information about the Daoist lord was scarce, one thing was clear: the Xianxia sect regarded him as a Mahayana cultivator. After years of calamities, Mahayana realm was no longer a secret in the world of immortal cultivation. It symbolized the pinnacle that mortal spirits could reach, representing the highest realm in immortal cultivation. With the return of the Daoist lord, various sects were actively contacting their long-out supreme elders, hoping for the emergence of a Mahayana cultivator. It's worth mentioning that this month, the Wuxian dynasty surrendered to the Taizong dynasty, which expanded its territory yet again, and Tianwei annexed the Great Zhao dynasty. Thus, the land of the once 9 dynasties turned into 6 dynasties. In terms of vastness, the Taizong dynasty was the largest. Even in the world of immortal cultivation, the name Li Xiandao was often mentioned. After leaving the book collection hall, Guwen walked on the streets, listening to the surrounding disciples' discussions about the various events in the immortal cultivation world. He enjoyed it greatly. The immortal cultivation world was consolidating its strength, so he couldn't afford to fall behind. He aimed to break through to the second realm of the immortal path quietly before the world was unified. An hour later, Guwen left the outer gate city and headed towards the North Sea Mountain to the medicine garden of sage Xian Miao to pick herbs. By midnight, Guwen moved again. This time, he came to a valley, just under 200 miles from the nearest town. The valley was filled with dense demon energy, and there were dozens of captives and over 200 demons, the strongest of whom had reached the nascent soul realm. That demon was severely injured and had ordered his subordinates to capture people. Guwen stood on a cliff, overlooking the flickering firelight in the valley, suddenly capturing an aura, his eyes narrowing beneath the mask. He didn't hesitate and jumped down. Facing the demons in the mortal world, Guwen never used spells or divine skills. He relied solely on swordsmanship to slay demons. After half an hour, in the valley, dozens of raggedly dressed commoners knelt on the grass, kowtowing to Guwen. On the cliff face before Guwen hung a huge cat demon, covered in blood, its demon body embedded in the cliff, with stones continually falling off. Besides that, surrounding Guwen were the bodies of demons, a chilling sight. Guwen said, "Hurry and leave." Upon hearing this, the commoners quickly got up and ran towards the valley entrance. Guwen's gaze then fell on a shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon's corpse, writhing on the ground. A woman suddenly turned around and said, "Benefactor, that demon was good to us, even trying to save us. Please don't kill him." As she spoke, the other commoners who were running away also stopped. Seeing the demon, they all spoke up, pleading for mercy. Guwen waved his hand, and the commoners had to leave. The woman bit her lip and eventually left as well. Soon, the valley fell silent. The shape-shifting demon beneath the cat demon staggered to his feet, looking more like a human than a demon. "Kill me if you want." Zhang Buku looked at the mysterious sword cultivator ahead, gritting his teeth, his eyes showing no fear. Guwen's lifespan had already exceeded 9,300,000 years, getting closer to the 10 million mark. This year, if he made an effort, there's a chance he could accumulate a lifespan of 10 million years by the end of the year. For his sister, he had to test the edge of the great calamity of demons. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.